Aita for not letting my ex-husband and one of his future step-kids come inside. Our custody arrangement is for each of us to pick the kids up on our day during our 2-hour pickup window. He arrived at the house, and I already had the boys ready. I saw his car pull into the driveway on my camera, so the boys were already halfway to the door when my ex knocks. I open the door, and he is holding the hand of a 4-year-old. He asks to come in and says his fiancé's son needs to use the bathroom. I told him I don't want him to come inside, because I don't feel comfortable with him in my house. He has a history of snooping through my things. He asked me to take his future stepson to the bathroom, and I said I was uncomfortable with the situation. He said his stepson needed to pee. I suggested the McDonald's up the road. He said my bathroom would be way cleaner than a McDonald's. At this point my 11-year-old started pestering his dad to stop so they could leave. My ex said your brother needs to use the bathroom. My son said I'll take him. My ex said no, your mother would rather he pee his pants. We'll go, and hopefully we'll get to the McDonald's in time. My ex and the boys left. He messaged me afterwards saying I was cruel to a child to punish him and that's not okay. He said I made us both look bad in front of our kids and should be embarrassed of my actions. I have been fighting with him for so long my perspective is screwed up. Was I in the wrong? Update, Aita for not letting my ex-husband and one of his future step-kids come inside. I did talk to my lawyer about what happened. He said we can address it at the hearing we already have scheduled about the movie situation. I thought that was that, but of course it was my turn to pick up the kids today. When I arrived at my ex's place he opened the door very wide and invited me in. I was suspicious and said no thank you. He kept insisting I come in so we can show the kids we are civil, but I had a bad feeling. I said I would just wait in the car for the boys to come out. I got in my car and texted my older son that I was there. A short while later he texted me back saying his dad said they couldn't leave unless I got them. I went back to the door and knocked again. Again, my ex invited me inside. I said I didn't want to come in, and that was when my boys showed up. My ex's fiancé was right behind them, telling them to come back upstairs. They ran to me, and we left. I don't know what his game is, but I'm not falling for it, whatever it is. Second update, Aita for not letting my ex-husband and one of his future step-kids come inside. Just concluded our hearing, and it went okay, all things considered. Judge said that neither of us need the permission of the other to take the children to age-appropriate experiences like movies. He told ex not to tell me I can't take the kids to do certain things because he wants to do them. If he wants to do them, he can, but so can I. So that was a win. Judge was annoyed that there was another drop-off issue. He was especially annoyed because the reason he gave my ex a 2-hour window for drop-offs was because he said he needed the flexibility since he is a caretaker of his fiancé's children. If he's taking them with him to drop-offs, why does he need 2 hours? Judge told him do not take his fiancé's children to my house, and do not ask to come inside my house. He told me not to ask to go inside his house either. He also told me not to rush my ex and to be patient and allow the children time to come to the door. I wasn't rushing him, but I didn't say that to the judge. I just agreed. Ex also dropped the bombshell that the week of the wedding he needs me to pick the kids up from the resort the wedding is at instead of his house, because they are going on their honeymoon straight from the resort and not returning home. I am very uncomfortable with this, and my lawyer said that is too much of a burden to put on me. The judge disagreed with my lawyer and said we all have to be flexible sometimes. So I am stuck doing that. I feel like he intentionally started fights about the previous 2 issues he knew he would lose on so the judge would side with him on the final issue to make things fair. Maybe I'm just paranoid. So 2 wins and a loss. Hopefully they'll be too happy about being married to pull any stunts. Comments. Commenter 1. I know it sucks that you have to drive to get them, but this is great news about the rest. He has additional rules that stick forever, while you are only inconvenienced once. If you could only win on 2, I'm glad it was the 2 you got. Reply. You are correct. I feel good about that, even though I am incredibly stressed out. I am worried he is going to try to trick me into doing or saying something that can be perceived as hostile and tell the judge I sabotaged his wedding. Commenter 2. Stop fretting and realize the 3rd issue was also a win. The judge said we all have to flexible sometimes. You just banked or are about to bank a favor. Next time there is an issue, you can remind him you were flexible when he needed it, so now he needs to be flexible. And if he presses for more from you, you can point out the disparity, him trying for miles when offered inches. Either way, you giving a little here, buys you future grace, whereas he has already spent his grace. Reply: that's a really good point. This makes me feel a little better. Thank you. Commenter 3. You could turn the pickup into a mini vacay, at the same resort just for shits and giggles. Imagine their faces when you are lying by the pool. NTA. Commenter 4. Well, as long as you have to pick the kids up at the resort, you may as well make it a little vacation for yourself. It's a long drive and you have been stressed by him anyhow. Lay by the pool. Get a massage. Relax. And if he or his fiancée say anything, you told me I had to come here. Stories number 2. Aita for divorcing my husband because he wants his son in his life. My husband and I have been married for 2 years. About 6 months ago an aunts of his called him, and told him about their son. After a DNA test, my husband is confirmed as the father. The kid is 5, and we've been together for 4 years, so it's not like he cheated. He agreed to meet his son, and they have hit it off well. They have been spending a lot of time together, and the mother is happy to let her son connect with his dad. But the problem is we both agreed to a child-free life. Neither of us wanted kids. He even got a vasectomy, and I got my tubes tied. We had a talk about this, and he says it's his responsibility to take care of his kid, and he says that he hopes I can support him, but I don't want a stepmom's life. This may be cruel of me, but I can't stand children. My husband knew this about me. I don't dare to force my husband to choose me or his kid, but this isn't the life I agreed to. I haven't told my husband yet, but I'm already talking to a lawyer. I just don't know what to do here. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Nah, but what did you expect to happen when he found out he had a kid? Were you expecting him to be a deadbeat dad? Let this man go. Reply: I don't know what I expected, but I wanted to at least try to acclimate to this, but I can't. Commenter 2. Child-free here. Circumstances have changed. Even though he didn't want to be a father, he is now one. If you don't want to be married to a father and be a stepmom, you can either live separately for 13 years or divorce. Just know your husband will not be able to be as available, and his finances and plans will, college, and milestones will always include his son now. I feel bad for both of you. I wish you the best with whatever you decide. Reply: I'm aware. He's been so busy lately that we rarely get time to even talk now. Commenter 2. You do what's best for you, but good for your husband for stepping up and acting like a man. Don't forget he will also be paying child support, so you better file soon or it might affect your divorce. Reply: if you're talking about alimony or assets. Don't worry, we don't own a house, we rent currently. We were gonna buy a house, but it's happened. Any other assets would be easily divided, and I make about the same as him. I don't need alimony. OOP on if she has a relationship with her husband's son. Reply: me and the boy. I guess you can say we get along okay. I feel like he can sense my discomfort with the situation, which I try to ease. I have tried to welcome him into our house, but honestly, he's more excited to hang with his dad. The baby mother doesn't seem to like me much. She's not outright hostile, but she tends to ignore me and always seems to be guard around me. She hadn't reached out because she never caught my husband's full name, until recently, when she found him on social media by chance. They haven't gone to court to officially hash out child support terms. But my husband is paying for a lot of the kids' needs right now. Baby mama doesn't seem to be in dire need of money, as I think she comes from a rich family. Update 1. So I had a talk with my husband. To clear a few things. My husband wants to spend as much time with his son as possible. He even mentioned wanting half custody, and have him live with us. So it's not like he wants to spend a day or two with him. He wants to be as close to a full-time parent as he possibly can. Yes, our vows included being child-free. It wasn't in wedding speech, but we had several long conversations about kids. This was something we promised each other, so yes. Being child-free was part of our vows. I don't like children and I don't want to have anything to do with raising children, but it's not like I yell at every kid I see. I guess you can say I hate the responsibility of raising a child, as opposed to hating children themselves. Yes, I would stay with my husband if he got in an accident and became disabled. See, I love and adore my husband, and I'm willing to work for him, but only for him. Adding a whole other person to our lives is different. I can't love his kid. I can't be a good stepmom. I love my husband, but I don't love his kid. Now, back to my husband. He almost blew me off again because he was tired from working and spending time with his son. But I insisted, and I told him I don't want to live like this. We talked, and he said he can't leave his kid, and that is the one thing he can't compromise on. He said he's gonna see him as much as he can, and he said that he needs to prioritize his kids' well-being over anything else, our relationship included. I told him I don't want to live like that. He said he won't budge on this. We both agreed that we should separate for a while. Neither of us straight up mentioned divorce, but I'm pretty sure that's where we're headed. I feel empty, and angry, and frustrated. I know my husband isn't at fault, I know the kid isn't at fault, but my life is just changing so much. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I hate to say this, but this isn't a comprisable situation. He wants the kid. You don't. Why are you dragging this out? Go ahead and make it a clean break so you both can move on. I'm sorry that it's come to this, but as you said, it's nobody's fault. It's just one of those curveballs that life throws at us. My condolences on the situation you're in. Best wishes with whatever you decide to do. Reply, logically speaking, I know you're right. I guess I'm just trying to rack my brain to see if there's anything. Anything at all where me, him, and the kid are all happy. OOP on how the child's mother found her husband. Reply, she claims she never could find him. They didn't exchange numbers or last names. She only found him by chance thanks to Instagram. Commenter 2, I can't see a solution for this. You probably need to end it before you both become too bitter about. End on note that allows you both to remain friends. Good luck. Update 2, it's official. We're getting divorced. I wasn't even the one who mentioned it, my husband is the one who said it. He said that if I can't be supportive and caring towards his son, then we can't be together. I had already moved out, and while part of me was hoping for some way to make it work, I think I knew this was inevitable. So it's official. I'm losing my husband. And he's gonna go on to be a father. Honestly, as long as I get my car and the money in my bank account, which I earned myself, we have separate accounts, I'm not gonna fight him. I'm willing to let him have anything in our old place. I'll honest, I don't know what to do now. Besides going through the divorce proceedings. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do now. All my life was gonna include my husband. Now he's gone. Relevant comments. OOP on who gets the house once the divorce is finalized. Commenter 1, we rented, we were planning to buy one, but then this whole thing started. Commenter 1, the real is the woman that didn't tell him he had a kid 5 years ago, you know, before you guys got married. Going your separate ways is best, wishing all the best for you with your healing and future. I'm sure you'll find love again. Commenter 2, wow honey, things will get better, life is taking you on separate paths but neither of you is to blame. Give yourself time to mourn your relationship and heal. You know what you want from life and with time you will find someone who shares that. Best wishes. Commenter 3, I don't think OP is TA. Everyone has their own opinions and boundaries. OP and husband had mutually decided to not have kids. The husband's heart melted when he saw his son. Good for him. But OP not wanting to do anything with it is equally okay. OP knows that she doesn't want kids because she can't take care of them. She's better than half of the people out there who have kids and then abandon them physically and emotionally. She's got her priorities, one of which was her husband who is leaving her because now his son is his priority. Again, not a bad thing. All I am saying is, she has her priorities, he has his. Just because OP's priorities are distasteful to a lot of you doesn't mean she's TA. Both of them are doing things which they think works the best for them. Update 3, it's been a year since all of this started. I never thought I'd be divorced a year and some weeks ago. I only remembered this post because apparently it was my cake day a few days ago. I have kept lightly in touch with my ex-husband. There's no bad blood between us. But I don't think I could move on if I stayed close to him. We didn't divorce because we didn't love each other after all. As far as I know, my ex-husband and the mother of her child aren't together. I won't lie, I was kind of expecting them to end up together. I still kind of am, to be honest. But my ex-husband has apparently been a good dad to his son. At least as far as I know. I've been dating around recently, but nothing is sticking. Yeah, the big deal breaker is me not wanting kids. I've told some guys about why I divorced and they were very understanding. I got my own place again, and I'm doing well financially. I never needed my ex-husband to take care of me. Despite my lack of success in dating, I'm feeling good, to be honest. I mourn that my marriage has ended, and I will always enjoy the memories. This was for the best for everyone, to be honest. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm sorry, but why did you expect for him to get with a woman who lied about having his son for 5 years? Reply, she didn't lie. She genuinely couldn't find him. My ex-husband admitted they never exchanged information. How was she supposed to find him? But honestly, I guess I have a bit of a movie brain going on. I was the evil stepmother who couldn't stand children. She was the single mom who finally found the dad. I was finally gone. If this were a movie, they'd end up together. I mean, if it happens, good for them and the kid. Commenter 2, this is about the most NAH thread I have ever seen. Both parties acted responsibly and maturely, and acted with compassion. I am sorry that OOP's marriage ended, but it ended far more cleanly than it would have if she had not been true to herself and had ended up resenting her husband and, even worse, her stepson. This was not a great situation, but this was the best possible outcome. Commenter 3, that's so hard, but it sounds like you both did the right thing. Wishing you and him the best. Commenter 4, I doubt they'll get together. No matter how happy he is with his son and getting to know the kid, it's still 6-7 years he's missed out on. It's still a life he built up with you that's now gone, and she, fairly or unfairly, I don't know why it took her 6 years to reach out, is the face of all that turmoil and pain. Maybe they will get together for some reason, you know them better than I, but it just seems like a bit melodramatic doomsday saying. It was a ONS, so no deep, emotional connection, 7 years ago, and a lot of life changes and broken dreams and new ones in between. Stories number 3. I was in love with my coworker for 10 years. I quit my job because of him. I need to write this down. I am in so much emotional pain right now. I am physically ill. I've been a nurse 10 years. There's a surgeon I work under I've thought about every day, multiple times a day for those 10 years. I'm an attractive woman who's always has male attention. Rarely am I ever truly attracted to anyone. But the minute I was around this man I felt the most intense attraction and pull I've ever felt in my life. I am married. He is married. We've never done anything intimate or even planned to go out alone together. Trust me, the guilt has killed me. I'm not exaggerating this. I've gone to therapy for years. My therapist is sick of hearing about him. I've journeyed. Read books. I just couldn't stop feeling this way. I've tried telling myself it's perfectly normal to find others attractive. I need to be an adult and get over it, but 10 years. I realized a few months ago I never will. I think about him multiple times a day and haven't missed a single day for 10 years. This isn't normal. I don't even know what to call this. Limerence. Obsession. Love. I hate my job. But I stayed because I couldn't not be around this man. It's like nothing else mattered when I was around him. I knew this wasn't normal or healthy. Never in my life have I had this happen. After trying the last 2 years to stop feeling this way, I decided to quit my job. I knew I had to be strong and get away from him to move on. My husband deserves that because he's a good man, and despite this doctor I care about him. This doctor's wife deserves that. She's done nothing wrong. Today was my official last day. I've been sobbing all day. My soul literally just aches. He asked me to stay. I burst into tears and left. I feel like a fucking fool. I've never told him how I feel. There is an unspoken attraction between us, but I think it stops at just attraction for him. I'm sure he senses how I feel but has no idea the depth my feelings are for him. None of this is normal, and if he knew exactly how intense this is for me, I'm sure he'd be uncomfortable. I've never felt pain like this. I'm not a teen girl. I'm a woman with a family, house, and career. This man has consumed my thoughts for a good portion of my life. I quit because I had to. My coworkers threw me a going-away party. Other surgeons complimented me and wished me well. It didn't matter. Only he mattered. I think this is the first time I've considered ever harming myself. I won't do that. But I have to be honest, this is the only time it strongly crossed my mind as an option. That bothers me. I'm trying to do the right thing, but this is the hardest thing I've ever done. Comments. Commenter 1. Distance will be good for you. Commenter 2. Does your husband know? I feel like couples therapy could be good here. It sounds like there may be either some unresolved trauma or problems in your marriage. To be so obsessed with someone you can't go a day without thinking about them must be madness when you can't do anything about it. I'm sorry to hear your struggles, but hopefully you made the right choice today. Reply. He does. I confessed to him years ago, but that was when my feelings were just starting to get bothersome. It would kill him to know how intensely I feel now. It's just gotten worse. We do have trauma. But he's a good man. We got pregnant very young and have stayed together to give our child a stable life. I do love him, but it's respectful and deep friendship love. This doctor, what I feel is so intense I don't know if it is even love. It's intense and heavy. It's something else with him. Commenter 3. Hey there. So, firstly, I am so sorry you're going through this. Truly. Secondly, this sounds like something that grew over time without a lot of actual contact from the doctor, no dates or real-life interactions that would have grown this attraction. Thirdly, I am a mental health therapist and I am concerned about you having suicidal thoughts. Your thinking sounds similar to some thinking patterns I have seen before, so please hear me out. I've come across similar situations before and I suspect it may be maybe because I don't know you. B. OCD. OCD doesn't always look like hand washing or cleaning, it can also manifest as pure O or pure obsessional. It sounds like this started with a genuine attraction, which happens, but to a person with OCD it can morph into what you're described here, which sounds like your own personal hell. A person can have trauma and OCD, or the trauma can manifest with some obsessional coping. I know you have a therapist, but therapists often miss OCD and it can go undiagnosed. Especially in sneaky cases like this one where it's not a stereotypical obsession. But all that to say, a screening or DX testing for OCD might be helpful. Some questions to ponder. Do you notice that the obsessive thoughts go up and down, increasing during periods of stress and decreasing during periods of calm? Do you have any obsessive/anxious patterns in your thinking? You have kids, did any obsessive thinking start to manifest postpartum? You sound like a surgical nurse, and sometimes folks with more perfectionistic thinking end up in the medical field. If you decide to go down this road, medication can be really helpful with obsessive thinking brought on by OCD, as well as ERP and ICBT. A cool podcast is OCD Stories. I may be completely wrong, but just in case this is what you are suffering with, I want you to know there is hope where you won't have to think about this man every day. You can learn to manage those thoughts and behavior in a way that frees you to live a full and happy life with people who can actually be with you. Sending you so much love. I'm sorry this is happening to you. Commenter 4. Get a different therapist. Congratulations on quitting your job. This was the right thing to do all along. I'd love to hear an update in 6 months. Update. I just woke up and there are a lot of comments to address. I wrote this because I am very mentally unwell right now and I need to get this out. If you don't want to give me compassion, that's fine. It wasn't what I was looking for. I started this career when I was very young, and this surgeon has singled me out and constantly showered me with attention. I am the biggest piece to blame in this. He knew what he was doing, and he loved having my attention and affection. It took me many years to realize this. He wanted me always with him and would pair us together. My boss has recognized this and even told me what he was doing was not okay. She's tried to override his authority in the past, but he has too much power with the hospital. He kept me close for selfish reasons. I'm not sure about his end goal. He may have just loved the ego boost and how I made him feel. Whatever it was, it doesn't matter. It held me back in multiple areas of my life. It is my fault staying way too long. I'm not trying to make up excuses. I just put so much schooling and time in this career, I thought I could have my cake and eat it too. I thought at some point things would get better. But each time they did, it's like I was sucked right back in and right back where I started. A day never went by I didn't think about him my entire career. I'm getting a lot of comments saying I'm a terrible person and my husband deserves better. He does deserve better and I'm trying to be better. Maybe me quitting won't make anything better and our marriage will fall apart. I have tried to justify that I never did anything physical with this doctor, so it's okay. But the truth is, how long this has been going on has been incredibly damaging to my self-esteem and my marriage. But many of you are correct. I was addicted to feeling seen and recognized and important at this job for so long. I saw and dealt with terrible things at this job. Many of you have also made negative comments about nurses always cheating. I hope that you realize it takes two people to cheat. Doctors also play into this. It does happen at hospitals more than other places. The more traumatic the job role, the more likely cheating would happen. You're around each other so much and you bond over the terrible experiences you have together. It's like you forget what reality is outside of your job. You make impulsive choices and it gets to a point your spouse can no longer relate to you. It doesn't justify cheating, but it is a reality and risk many people should realize exists. I no longer have any love for this career and I never want to go back. Edit 1. Someone mentioned doctors' divorce rate is the lowest and nurses is the highest. Trust me, the doctors cheat almost as much as nurses. They just have less consequences and can hide it. Comments. Commenter 1. All that divorce rate says to me is that a lot of people are prepared to put up with cheating doctors if it means staying married to someone who makes a lot of money or has prestige in the community. Commenter 2. I admire your courage in telling your truth. You've given me an understanding of how these things can happen in a work environment. Yes, nurses and doctors have a terrible tendency to commit adulterous behaviors. You hit the nail on the head when explaining as to why. You've made the right decision to leave, and I always say, it's better to be late than never at all. Please don't harm yourself. The people who love you need you to stay and be healthy. I'm in a situation currently where the doctor has developed feelings for me. He too is married. I'm single, but I would never get involved with a married or taken man. Do I find him attractive? Yes, but I think all of us as humans can acknowledge when a person is attractive without anything coming from it emotionally. This is the third doctor I've worked with that this has happened. All three have been married. I'm realizing that I must quit this job and I can no longer work for doctors moving forward. It took 16 years for me to learn this lesson. Because of what's transpired at my workplace with the current doctor, I know now that I must open my own business so this can't happen ever again. I won't be working with men at all from here on out. I'm scared to fail, but I feel this is my only choice if I am to succeed long term. I can't allow these men to continue to have power over my future job security. It's going to be hard, I'm going to have to do everything on my own, but it must be done. You have chosen the right path in leaving, and even though you're struggling emotionally, you will be in a much better place a year from now. You'll look back on this moment as a distant memory that brought you to exactly where you needed to be. Grieve this chapter of your life that's closing. Once you're ready, there's a new chapter waiting to be discovered. Best of luck to you. This will pass, believe. Reply, yes. I've also had multiple doctors have feelings for me. It made me feel very, very uncomfortable. All married. This one is the only one I liked. And obviously that's putting it lightly. I would probably have taken a bullet for this man, I admired him so much. In my life I've only been very attracted to a handful of people. Doctors have a very low divorce rate while nurses' divorce rate is one of the highest. It's because doctors can cheat and still have their wife at home. They can hide it easily and the hospital will cover it up if they can. Doctors are valuable and make money. Nurses are constantly underappreciated and burnt out. We are disposable. Being given any admiration or attention feels so good because it's so rare. If we give in to cheating, then our career is basically over. Good for you for getting out. You will succeed. Staying is a lose-lose situation. Stories number 4. Entitled Guest wants to open my collector doll for her kid. I moved out of my parents' house last year. My parents have kept my childhood bedroom as it is, with all of my old toys, belongings, my clothes, etc. because I go home to visit most weekends and help around the house. This includes some collector edition Barbies and dolls that my dad bought for me when I was younger. I keep them in their boxes, stored on a high shelf. There's about 10 dolls, some of which are collector's items now because of their age and condition. I haven't thought about selling them because I just like keeping things my dad bought for me. I guess I have attachment to them because he worked in the US while we lived in Canada without him, and toys were given when he visited us. This past weekend, I was visiting my mom and she brought some of her friends over. One particularly entitled friend Jane brought her granddaughter, a 5-year-old. I told my mom not to let the child up in my room after a bad experience with kids taking my belongings and breaking them. I stayed downstairs and worked in a room. Eventually I heard Jane taking the granddaughter upstairs. I then heard them opening doors and talking. I didn't go upstairs until I heard her say something about dolls. I went upstairs and asked them both to leave my room. But Jane was already in my closet at this point and pointing at the dolls. Of course, they pointed at the boxes of Barbies. She pulled one off, showed it to her granddaughter, and told me she wanted to play with it. When I told her, no, it's in the box for a reason, she seemed irritated at me and handed the box back to me. She left my room, and the child started crying and saying she wanted to play with dolls. I went through my things, found some of the dolls that I'd opened as a kid and played with, and offered them to her downstairs, but she kept insisting on the princess doll. They didn't go back upstairs, but it left me a little anxious now about my room. My mom is telling me to put a lock on my door because Jane visits often and tends to wander around, but I'm baffled that she would go into someone's house and think it's okay to touch their stuff. I'm from a South Asian background BTW, and this tends to be the attitude of some older women. They don't understand collectible culture or sentimentality to gifts. They think they're able to do whatever they want, open whatever they want. Edit for extra info, we installed a lock this morning on my bedroom door and my mom warned her friend not to go in my room in the future. I live in a very small condo. It isn't big enough for me to bring all of my belongings there. I've left a lot of clothing and personal items with my parents. Stories number 5. Neighbor who's very artistic by nature getting a sudden eviction because the landlord's daughter wants the house with the art inside. What art? There was a house in our area that was known for having really cool murals inside done by the previous tenant. Outside was pretty tame. She has a pre-built facade to make the house look like a cottage, inside all hand-done murals of Disney movies and fairy tales. The lady was an art teacher when she was younger, and later she started one of those paint with wine type business, which she did well before fully retiring to just doing paint commissions and furniture decorating. She's always been nice to everyone, even when I've been an ass to her when she complained about the truck being loud or speeding. We worked that out and been friends since. She had an agreement with the original landlord about the art. Since it wasn't outside, it wasn't going to be a problem. She's been living in that house since the mid-80s with promises of getting the house in time. Unfortunately, he passed before anything was signed and legitimized, and his kids took over. One of the sons visited the house to inspect it with his daughter, and apparently they fell in love and wanted the art house for his daughter. My neighbor didn't have a lease, which made the fight harder, and they used the art on the walls as an excuse to kick her out. She was devastated, but she was able to buy a property that fits her needs at the last minute in another state that had a full art studio area on the first floor. She originally wanted to leave the house as is without the cottage-looking front, but my friend offered to restore the house to Rebecca standards for free since he needed to figure out how to use powered paint sprayers. He also had a friend that did landscaping to help her with the front of the house. She agreed, and we moved all her furniture out to storage units, and my friend let her stay in his guest house free of charge if she did a mural on the living room wall. She had the house cleaned out in a week. On the second week they buffed all the walls with sanders. All the murals from the front to back were gone. It just looked like blotches of colors. My friend, being the ever-diligent painter that he is, masked anything that wasn't paint and sprayed Kills primer everywhere with his new toy sprayer. This thing was pretty badass. You can spray a whole wall in 4 passes. After the paint dried, he used his Rebecca collection of colors to essentially kill the character of the house. Rebecca condition is what we call flipper houses. It's always the same fucking colors, white with grays all over the house and the shitty dark tone pergo flooring. The floors were tile, so he left it alone, but the walls were white semi-gloss. The wood paneling, walls, trim, switch covers, outlet covers, counters and cabinets were sprayed in the most depressing shade of gray. The house looked dead inside when I went in to check it out. It was weird not seeing all the murals. The front of the house was the last project. She agreed to give his landscaping friend the bushes in exchange for the labor of removing the cottage facade without breaking it. The landscaper basically ripped everything out and just dumped gravel and sand with a boulder for decoration. This weekend I went to fix some problems at an old neighbor's house and noticed the house was still empty, and asked the neighbor if had seen anyone move in. He said earlier in the week there was some U-Hauls there, but none of them were unloaded, and that was the last time they remember seeing anyone there. Bet that daughter was in for a surprise when she saw the house get turned into a basic hellhole. Stories number 6. Aita for suggesting to my husband that we put his mother in a home. I 45F and my husband 56M are going through a rough patch. Recently, his mother's 78F health issues have been getting worse, and the doctor has recommended she receive full-time care. Previously, she lived alone, but nurses would come every other day to check on her. My husband thinks the best course of action in moving her into our home. My issue is that I do not want my mother-in-law living with us. She's always been very rude to me and my daughter 11F. She was originally against me marrying my husband because we come from 2 different faiths. He's Mormon, I'm raised Lutheran but personally agnostic, and because I'm not as traditional as she would like me to be. She is a very traditional woman who believes in rigid gender roles for women. She's attempted to push this belief on my daughter by making comments about what my daughter wears and does. She has made comments to my daughter like, "Wear leggings with your dress, or else you make God upset. And when God's upset, he sends people to bad places." This has made my daughter feel very ashamed and paranoid. She has also expressed disdain for when my daughter said she wanted to become a veterinarian. My mother-in-law said, "A proper lady should not work outside the home. Focus on raising a family." She also hates me because I work, and was very against this. She does not hold the same sentiment towards my son 8M. She shows clear favoritism towards my son while consistently criticizing everything my daughter does. While my husband typically defends me in front of his mom, he is adamant we move her into our house. His reasoning is that she is too sick to take care of herself, and his only other brother is ill-fit to take care of her. He's in rehab. I suggested, then put her in a retirement home, which made him incredibly angry. He says that at the end of the day this is his mother, and he has a duty towards her. He promised that if she moves in, he will talk to her about her attitude towards me and our daughter. However, I don't want to raise my kids anywhere near her. She has been shaming my daughter, and I barely get along with her. Last night, out of anger, my husband said, "You can move out of the house, but I'm not moving my mother into a retirement home." Aita for suggesting my mother-in-law be sent to a home. Edit. Since people are asking, we will continue to have nurses check on my mother-in-law. My husband wants her to move in and switch nurse visits from every other day to every day. Stories number 7. Told my wife F35 that she couldn't do it without me. M34 turns out she can. Am I wrong in this fight? My wife and I don't fight much. And when we do fight, we usually communicate well afterwards and things go back to normal. I brag to my friends about how reasonable my wife is, and her ability to communicate and empathize is something I deeply admire. She doesn't hold grudges. She talks me through my rough times. Until now, due to a fire, my wife is out of work but still earning her salary thanks insurance. We decided she would stay home with our young son while out of work. She doesn't love child rearing, which is something we knew going into having kids. Honestly, it's hard to tell. She's a great mom. Present and loving even when I can see she's struggling inside. I give my wife a lot of breaks. We co-parent. Split bedtime routines for our 2 kids. We both pull our weight. Yesterday was a snow day. My daughter was home with my wife and son. I was working from home downstairs all day. I helped my daughter with cyber school until noon. My wife was with my son in the snow all morning, plowing the drive and sidewalks etc., maintaining the house. My daughter joined them, and from the sound of things and some videos, she brought her friends over for playing and hot chocolate. I worked until around 5 o'clock, and when I went upstairs it was chaos. My wife was doing laundry and helping my daughter who fell and hurt herself on the ice. She sent home the friends and we had dinner. I did the cleanup, and right after finishing, keep in mind I've been downstairs working all day, not even a bathroom break after noon, I go into the playroom and my wife approaches me. It goes like this: her, "Hey, can I go lay down for a bit?" The maybe offense. I admit I made a face and said, "Me, I haven't gone to the bathroom all day and I put cookies in the oven." I can tell I messed up just by the face she give me. Her, "Fine. Never mind. Forget I asked." Heaven forbid. Now I'm sensing some attitude and know I've misstepped here. So I say, "Me, no, it's fine, I'll take care of it all. Go take a break." To my complete shock, in front of our kids who I admit aren't paying us much attention, but are still close, my wife says, "I said never fucking mind. I've been running around on my feet all day watching our kids and other people's kids, and heaven fucking forbid I ask for 20 minutes to myself." I again say, "Go take a break. I told you it was fine." But she's clearly lost her marbles and is seeing red. She starts cleaning up and helping with the kids, and I do too. I tried to overcompensate, but she just took over caring for them and they listened to he. In the hall I said, "I think you forget I work all day." And she viciously says, "Her, thanks for reminding me. I almost forgot. I feel like an ass." I get that she works hard caring for the kids, but I work hard too. I think not having her job and escape is making her reaction to this fight worse. She texted me the next day with her usual communication. She expressed how upset she felt with my behavior and the way I acted toward her. She said she was feeding and taking care of 6 kids all day in the snow alone and still cleaned the entire house and deep cleaned our craft room. I explained that I'm stressed at work and that I didn't get why she's so upset since I offered her a break, but she said, "I don't want your pity break." She ended it with, "Thanks for the apology BTW. Which, yeah, I didn't exactly apologize, but for what? And then she asked for the number to my daughter's piano teacher. The piano teacher was the only activity that I managed for my kids. I found out she texted her asking to go through my wife from now on, as she will be managing the schedule. Normally my wife would text me asking if I can get my daughter from dance on my way home yesterday. I do this every week. I didn't hear anything, and when I got home I found out my wife dropped and picked her up. I confronted my wife with, "I am very present with my children, do not make me out to be an absent father." My wife responded with, "If I didn't manage and ask you for help, you'd see them a quarter of the time you do now. And I'm done managing you." I get it. I should have just smiled and agreed when she asked for help, but this is extreme. She's having a fit and trying to ice me out of my relationship with my kids. It's so petty. It's like I don't even know this woman. Gone is the reasonable level-headed communicator. So if you've made it this far, thank you. And please tell me if I'm wrong here. Relevant comments. OOP on being told his wife is stressed. Thanks for the response. Her reaction is so out of left field. She really is usually the most reasonable person I know. It's been stressful for her, and I admit I'm also so stressed at my job that I didn't see it. I figured a few months off paid would be a luxury. But yeah, now I see having 6 kids and a toddler alone all day might be as luxurious as a barrel of hair. Guess it's my turn to be the empathetic reasonable one. She's done it enough for the both of us. OOP on being told to take the initiative and give the wife a break. You are 100% right. I normally do say that. She asks me for a break at least 3 times a week to take a bath or go read, and I almost always immediately say yes. It was just an off moment and I know I reacted poorly, but she's completely trying to ice me out. I had to argue with her this morning just to let me take my kid to school because she said she'd do it. And the kids just went along clinging to her, and then when I pushed back my kid started crying for her. She had to calm him down and insist going with dad is fun just to undo what she did. He was fine with going with me, but it's messy and so unnecessary. I am scared with her behavior. I love my wife and I don't want to push her away. OOP on his wife's schedule. My wife has 2 days during the week without my son or daughter. She's been painting the house and deep cleaning. My son is gone from 8 to 2 and my daughter September 3rd Monday and Friday both. I think the snow day broke her, but hopefully she'll come around and be sensible. I've never known her to ice me out or stop communicating, and it's freaking me out. It's a little bit why I think there is more to this fight. Told my wife F35 that she couldn't do it without me M34. Turns out she can. January 26, 2024. I made one stupid selfish comment to my wife a week or so ago and now my life is in disarray. My wife is in some crisis. Her work is closed and she's being paid, but she's home with our kids now, including one 3-year-old. She gets breaks on Monday and Friday with childcare. We went into having kids knowing she wanted to be a working mother. So this has been an adjustment, to say the least. On to the OG fight. She spent a long day with our kids and the neighboring kids, and when I came upstairs from work and she asked for a break, I didn't respond well. I made excuses and didn't offer help, and for the first time in years my wife lost her temper and cursed at me. Like an idiot I dug in and thought I was right. I admit we both said some unkind things. But after Reddit humbled me and she made me sit down and write a list of things I did for the family that day and compared it with her longer list, I apologized. She accepted and I figured things would go back to normal. They haven't. My wife used to include me in parenting our kids. I did dance pickup most weeks and bedtime was split. I gave baths. Made dinner. All the stuff. Since our fight, my wife hasn't asked me for any help with the kids. The first morning I woke up on what was supposed to be my morning with the kids, I figured she was just being nice or trying to prove a point, but it keeps happening. She didn't even send them down to say goodnight last night. Normally my wife does this silly game where she sends my son to ask me to read 5 books and then we would negotiate down to 1 or 2 and race upstairs. Last night I heard her racing him and came up to find her doing bedtime yet again. The kids haven't even noticed. It's like she's replacing me. When we were fighting I said something really dumb that's living inside me and festering. My wife was being nasty and said you wouldn't see the kids a quarter as much as you do if I didn't arrange it and I'm done managing you. I defended myself, I'm not an absent parent, and said something along the lines of I'd like to see how long you can manage without me. Consider my foot officially in my mouth. She started running again. She's cooking really healthy and often. Every night I come home to my perfectly happy step-forward wife, doing it all without me and I feel empty inside. How do I fix this? I don't even know where to begin. At this point I want to beg her to go back to how things were. This wasn't what we agreed on. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I dunno, step up. Get involved without her organizing it or instructing you. Are you really this daft? Reply. It's difficult when they prefer her and she seems to do everything better than me. I work often as well. It helps to have her give me a heads up on the plan with the kids, but I'm getting now that maybe that's done and over with. Commenter 2. But he doesn't know what to do if she doesn't send the kid to him with an instruction of what books, and how many, are to be read. How is he supposed to know what to do? OP, that wasn't a silly game. That was a woman noticing you are never going to just go read your own kid a book, so she made it into a game for the child, so the child doesn't have to watch his mom come over to dad and say please read him a book, for the love of God please. Because that would give the kid an inkling that you are not doing it out of your own free will, and if not instructed, you would not do it ever, and that could be upsetting. Reply. Okay, I admit. This hit me hard, fuck man. Do you really think that's what the game is? I hate that it makes sense to me. OOP once again told to do more. I'm fucking confused, okay? I had this perfect life with an amazing successful wife and a great job. We juggled 2 careers and 2 kids like champions, always communicating who is where, doing what activity. Working together to manage the American dream of doing it all. Then my wife's job burns down and she's home all the time doing everything. She gets stressed and we fight and now she's totally different. IDGAF about warm meals and a step-forward wife, I want my wife. My partner. My teammate. And yes, my fucking manager back. She was amazing. And now I managed to fuck it up like always by sticking my foot in my mouth. She's still perfect, only now I know she's not doing what she wants and that I have failed her in some way that seems to have broken her. Or maybe fixed her ick. Like I said, I'm confused and apparently an idiot. OOP when asked if maybe his wife wants an equal partner. You won't believe me anyways. I've been with my wife since we were kids, 15/16. I know this woman. She loved doing it all and she was amazing at it. She always bragged about being a working mom, but she never put down woman that stayed home. Her mother was a stay-at-home mom that got married super young. My wife didn't want that life. We used to joke about her earning more than me so I could stay home. She never complained about the kids' schedule either. She did drop-offs at daycare and I did pick-ups. We had a rhythm and flow. I think not being home during the day with them made her soak in the time at night more than maybe I did it. But I honestly think she was happy. OOP again explains his wife's work schedule. My wife works with animals and makes her own schedule. She can schedule days off whenever, so she is more flexible. She is home to take the kids into daycare and then I would pick them up and drop them at my mom's and my wife would get them around 4. She does not need to work. I pay the majority of the bills. My wife's job earns less, but that doesn't make it less worthy. She actually affects the world. I just type at the computer all day and deal with air emissions. My wife works to pay for daycare. It's her big expense. I do mortgage and everything else. She also uses her money to buy stuff. She has full access to my account and often transfers money when low. I do not have access to her account. It's a personal boundary of my wife's that she always have her own private money. I don't need or want that myself, so she manages most of the finances. My wife has traumas around being stuck as a homemaker and baby maker. Edit, fuck guys, I get it. I'm a piece of shit. I'm going to make this right. Edit 2, thank you to the handful of people that reached out with advice. Believe it or not, I do want to be a good father and husband. I've royally fucked up and I see that and fully admit it. This is going to be my only edit and then I'm going to get off my phone for a while and focus my attention on my family. My wife had dinner cooked when I got home. Everything is fine between us, so there wasn't any tension. After we cleaned up I went upstairs and ran my wife a bath, put Taylor Swift on her Alexa and lit a few candles. I told her to go relax upstairs for the night. She was surprised but smiled and went on her way. I'm currently on the toilet watching my kids take a bathe. People mentioned love bombing etc., but I'm just trying anything I can to show her I do appreciate and love her and our family and I want to be a present father. I'm going to do bedtime tonight and probably all next week. I'll tell her she does so much during the day and deserves the break because it's the truth. I get that I come off as an asshole. I grew up in a not great situation and didn't have the best role models growing up. I'm terrified of my children not having enough and I overcompensate by working too much. This new job came with a big pay increase, but the hours are longer and I feel like I can never keep up. I've reached out to a few recruiters tonight. I used to love my job and was always home by 4:30. Even if it means taking the lost income, I'm thinking about going back. Relationships are hard. And humans aren't perfect. For all the people telling me my kids don't love me and I'm a waste of space, guys, just remember I'm an actual person. That shit's rough. Anyways, that's all I have for you folks. I need to watch these kiddos and start planning out my long road of groveling and reconnecting. Thanks all. Comment 1. Back on after a while and I see this comment right away. Thanks for asking. The update is slow moving. My wife and I had a few nights of talking and crying that have helped make us stronger. I know everyone hates me, but I do love my wife, and had she ever expressed an unequal workload before this fight I would have put effort into learning about it and fixing it. As it stands, we agreed to therapy. My wife feelings like her reaction to our fight was out of her norm and wants to start her own therapy to help. I fully support that. I also do weekly therapy and find it helpful. Boy was this week fun for my therapist. Anyways, I looked deep into weapons ed incompetence and unequal mental workloads and have come to realize I'm essentially another head to manage for my wife. We agreed to be partners in this life and somewhere along the line I lost that thread. She still claims she wants to manage our schedules, but I don't want to be that husband or father. I have always thought my wife was amazing and looked up to her. WWAD, what would wife's name do, is my motto. I want to be more like her, so I need to learn how to manage myself and my time and my kids' time without her help. I've asked to take on the parenting responsibilities 100%. I didn't realize she needed to do so much shit. It's been eye-opening. Ick, how long we will keep this up either. My wife isn't the biggest fan of handing over the reins. Reddit's hate has lit a fire under my ass. Having so many outside people looking into the situation and simultaneously getting the ick from me has been humbling. Comment 2. I think I'm going to go with what my wife and I decided in terms of deciding what's realistic or sincere. I wanted to see what it felt like to be 100% in control of everyone's schedule and making sure to take care of it. It's incredibly difficult to constantly be reminding myself of the time and who needs what and when, but it's also been humbling and rewarding. We both know it won't last forever and we will get back to finding our new healthy medium. Things won't go back to before and they won't stay like this forever. But for now, I'm taking over doctors and school duty, and when we sign up my son for kindergarten next year I'll be doing all the work for that and making sure I'm fully involved in the things I missed with my daughter. I'm going to be a better dad, and that's just final. New update. Update 2:18. It's been a minute since I bothered with Reddit, but when I logged in it seems some people care for an update. It's not exciting. I've taken a lot of time to really look at the man I've become. My wife and I are 100% back to being a team, but I've realized I wasn't stepping up the way I always wanted to. I promised my wife a partnership, and even though it's been a month or so since our fight and my wife keeps asking me to forget it happened, I can't. My therapist is helping me sort through my overthinking. My wife started therapy because of the stress losing her work temporarily and staying home has caused. Her issues appear to stem from feeling useless without bringing in a paycheck and was taking on too many tasks at home to overcompensate. She doesn't feel like she deserves breaks, and when she takes them she feels awful about herself and like she's lazy. Coming from the least lazy person I know, I can tell she's struggling. And I've been supporting her the best I can. I often make sure she knows I think she deserves breaks. So when I see her hyper-fixating on cleaning the floorboards, I intervene gently by reminding her that this doesn't need doing right now, but that I will finish it for her while she does me a favor and takes a little break. Sometimes it works and other times she tells me to stop fussing and leave her to work, and I do. It's been working well and I don't mind the extra work for the peace of mind it offers me. My wife is my everything and her happiness is paramount. My kids are mostly clueless to all this. We don't involve them. And I must say, I made a throwaway comment about my wife not loving child rearing and received a lot of nasty comments about not having kids we don't want. I'm weary to dignify this with a response, but will say what I meant was that we agreed before having children that my wife would not be the sole support system for them and that she would never feel obligated to quit working. My wife is fiercely independent due to her past, and a big part of her comfort in our relationship comes from her ability to leave it safely if she ever needed to. That trauma is hers and I won't touch more on it other than to say I agreed to this aspect before we married and do not mind it. She should be an independent person. I'd want the same for my kids. So that's basically it. I've taken on the role as primary parent. I get my kids to daycare/school and home, and while my wife helps half the time, it's now my responsibility to see who is doing what and coordinate things. I can't do it all in my head like her, but I have a chart that's been helping. She rebelled at first but gave up the reins surprisingly easily. She needed a break. I also put my son back in full-time daycare. Although my wife keeps bringing him early, I can tell she likes the break. That's all I have for now. Thanks guys, and sorry it's not more dramatic. I know some of y'all wanted my balls and were hopeful my wife would leave me. While I would be lost without her and the thought makes me physically ill, it's nice to see people appreciating my wife the way she deserves and stand up for her so fiercely. Thanks all. One last thing, I bought her this game Pal World on the computer. She hasn't gamed since having kids because of some preconceived conclusion it made her a bad parent, but I insisted she spend a few hours, and since I'd spent money, she did. I find her playing a lot to wind down when the day is over. It seems to be helping her feel more herself too. So thanks video games. I'll stand for a lot of assumptions on my character, and boy have there been some nasty ones, but one thing I won't take is people saying I don't love my wife. She's my person and it is my duty in life to make her happy. Stories number 8. AIO for canceling first date last minute after being told to shave my vaye. I 29F met this man 44M about 5 or 6 times in passing on my way home from work. Twice, I accepted his offer to drop me home since I happen to live in the direction he travels to get home as well. The second time he dropped me off, he made comments about not being invited into my house, but I gave him a valid excuse. He proceeded to ask me and against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him after work the previous evening. I was genuinely interested in spending a little time with him in a relaxed atmosphere to see if we were compatible. The morning of, I told him I was working for 7 days straight and it would be 10 by the time I finally get my next day off, so I didn't have much energy for dancing or staying out late. He said that was fine. After work, I was making my way home when he called to confirm that he'd pick me up in less than an hour, and that's when he told me to shave my vag. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so I asked him to repeat his instructions, and he did. Before I could even stop myself, I told him, never mind, I'm no longer going on this date. The call ended right after that, and I blocked him. Was I overreacting? Edit to add, I don't blame anyone for thinking this story is fake, and I agree, I was stupid. I live in Jamaica, and our social structure is a bit different. When a guy sets their sights on a girl, he tends to be aggressive in his pursuit, but this man was more mature and laid back. Also, most people including myself don't own a car, so I take taxis everywhere. This guy uses his car as a taxi each evening when he heads home from his regular 9 to 5. So basically, that's why I got into his car in the first place. But each time I tried to pay my fare, he'd refuse to take it. That's why it ended up just being a ride. When I made an excuse about my house, he accepted it immediately and never gave me any pushback. I actually do have pepper spray and a weapon on me at all times, so I have at least 1 ounce of self-preservation. I just thought maybe it wouldn't hurt to at least talk to the guy. I've learned from this experience and won't be repeating it. Stories number 9. I discovered my wife 28F of 7 years is cheating on me 30M. She doesn't know that I know. TLDR, OP finds explicit messages between his wife and her business mentor. He uses a PI to prove the affair, gets a divorce lawyer, love bombs the wife before stunning her with a divorce and going non-contact with her. She freaks out and tries to win him back. OP and his wife meet a few times with lawyers but it always ends negatively. OP has credit card receipts showing how deep she was in it with AP and refuses to reconcile. She has a mental breakdown and OP struggles with single life. I discovered my wife 28F of 7 years is cheating on me 30M. She doesn't know that I know. TLDR, OP is 30M and married to Emily 28F. They've been together since high school and have had a great marriage up until now. Emily is a successful hair and makeup artist who owns her own business which mostly caters to weddings. A lot of her success is due to John, 40SM, a wealthy local business owner who has sent her a lot of work and contacts. OP sees a message preview from John to Emily about how incredible the previous night was. Emily had worked late. OP then finds more evidence of other meetings, and discovers expensive jewelry and clothes which he had not purchased and written off as gifts from high-end clients. OP also realizes Emily does not love John but enjoys the lavish gifts and perks he provides. She never replies to John's loving messages, reminds John he should love his wife, and still treats OP as a loving best friend. OP is broken and will file for divorce. Emily is unaware he knows about the affair. Update 1. I asks Emily CYA questions about their relationship and she admits he has never abused her or cheated on her and she wishes they made love more. They spend Christmas at her parents' house, and a gift arrives for Emily from Santa with a very expensive gold bracelet. Emily is visibly annoyed and tells everyone it is from a bridal client. She later has an angry phone call while gesticulating wildly. On New Year's Eve, Emily has to work late to deal with a bridezilla but promises to be back for their annual kiss at midnight tradition. She arrives at 1:30 a.m. sobbing profusely. OP asks what happened and she says she is just sad because she missed their kiss. I asked her if she had anything else to tell me. She assured me that she didn't. I asked her point blank then if she cheated on me. She swore up and down that she didn't and that she was upset because she missed the countdown because since we have been married we always kissed each other when the clock struck midnight. I gave her every opportunity to come clean and she still lied to me. OP begins searching for attorneys while Emily is still unaware he knows. Update 2. OP finds new communications from Emily warning John OP suspects something. Emily tells John they need to stop and it is not fun anymore and she doesn't want to lose her marriage. John mentions she should still use the credit card he gave her to hide their activities. Emily also messages her best friend, Bev, who has known of the affair and apparently has supported Emily through it. OP finds a good attorney and his dad helps pay for it. The attorney says the next step is find a PI to get more evidence and the attorney will subpoena the credit card. She also recommends beginning therapy. Emily love bombs OP and talks about starting a family. OP has complicated emotions switching between anger/disgust and missing her. But overall he is miserable. Emily now suspects he knows something. Update 3. OP hires a PI who then follows John. On Valentine's Day, John leaves flowers and a card at Emily's business. Emily throws them in the dumpster and the PI retrieves them. The card has graphic details of their affair, e.g. John trying to win her back by describing his favorite parts of her body and what he does with them. The PI later sees Emily meet with John in a parking lot and seemingly end the affair. Emily will be served soon. OP begins love bombing her to show her what she will lose. OP has determined he is completely ghosting her once she is served. Update 4. TLDR, Emily is served at her business and she freaks out. OP sends a letter to family and friends describing her affair and includes John's graphic letter. He then messages Bev's husband and lets him know that Bev supported the affair. OP leaves a note to Emily, lawyer contact info, and photos of her affair, then leaves the house before Emily arrives. Emily messages him over and over saying they were supposed to get through this and she loves him. He ghosts her. Emily now knows he knows. This is major event so OP's post is included here. I left Emily. We got the divorce papers, summons, petition, standing orders, etc. The PI, acting in his capacity as a process server, wore a body cam for obvious professional reasons and I was able to look at the footage when he came by my hotel room later on in the afternoon. The PI walked up to Emily who was sitting at her station and chatting with the other stylists who work for her. He showed her a manila envelope and told her he had legal documents for her and she had been served. Emily of course looked shocked and confused and just stared at him, gobsmacked. The PI clarified that the envelope contained legal documents regarding a divorce case filed against her and he told her she should review them and contact her attorney. Then he dropped the documents at her feet with a satisfying slap as they hit the ground since she refused to take them and told her she's still been served. He then told her to have a nice day and walked out. Morgan Freeman narrator voice, Emily didn't have a nice day. I could hear her hyperventilating as the PI left and saying what? What is this? Really, Emily? You're actually surprised. I was at home and after the PI called and said he was heading in to serve her, I called Emily's dad. Since my mom died, I had probably unwisely been treating her mom, my MIL, like a mother. I just couldn't talk to her. I told Emily's dad about the divorce. I tried to keep it very simple and quick. Emily cheated on me. We're getting a divorce. I'll send you an email shortly with evidence of the affair. I stressed that Emily was being served divorce papers today, so she would absolutely need their support and they should head over to our house immediately. Emily's dad acknowledged that and said that he hoped we could find a way through this and it would be a shame to break up our family. I guess Emily's mom was nearby and overheard because she took the phone from him, put it on speaker, and asked if this is true. I explained to her about the cheating and the email with the evidence they'll receive. She started crying and apologizing to me. Since this thing started she was the first person close to me who apologized to me. I was reminded of my mother, who always would comfort me when I was down, and I just broke, y'all. I started tearing up and croaked out I have to go and hung up on her while she was saying no wait. I had packed up my work laptops and got a lot of my clothes in 2 large suitcases. On the advice of my attorney, I took down the cameras in the bathrooms and bedrooms when I left, but the cameras in the common areas can remain because my dad is the owner of the house. I packed the cameras up in my suitcases too. My lawyer sent the subpoena to the credit card company on Monday when I pulled the trigger on my marriage. I wrote an email to Emily's dad and sister and to some mutual friends who know both of us, including Bev's husband. It said, I never thought I'd be writing this, but after everything that's happened, I don't see another choice. I wanted you to hear it from me directly so that there's no confusion or misinformation. Emily has been having an affair with a man named John. I have evidence, emails, financial records, and an investigation that confirms it. I think we all know that her bracelet gift from Santa was not from a client, because the client would have identified themselves by name and clients don't know her parents' address. She's been meeting John and hiding it from me for months. I know this is painful to hear, and trust me, it's even more painful to write. But I didn't want you to be blindsided by all of this later. I'm attaching a few things to this email that make it clear what's been going on and to head off any of your concerns about the truth of my statements. I know this is shocking, and I don't expect you to take sides. I just want you to have the truth. I love Emily, but she's broken our marriage beyond repair, and I have no choice but to move forward with a divorce. FIL's name, MIL's name, SIL's name, SIL's hubby, thank you for being like a second family to me. I will miss all of you. I wrote a similar email to John's wife and gave her my attorney's name and number if she wanted to go see the physical evidence herself. It would have to be in my lawyer's office. Personally, I think my lawyer is going to try to get John's wife to give her a retainer. I also sent a group text for them to check their emails. Then I blocked Emily's family. To the email I attached a photo of John and Emily kissing goodbye in the hotel parking lot and a photo of the contents of John's Valentine's Day card to Emily. It was explicit. Finally, I had a link to the recording of Emily saying that I didn't abuse or cheat on her. I just wanted to head that bullshit off ahead of time. OP then goes into details on the letter to Bev's husband. I then left my wedding ring, a printed copy of the same photo of Emily and John at the hotel parking lot kissing, my lawyer's business card, and a note: thanks for your help on this, guys. The note said, I hope your affair with John was worth our marriage. We are getting a divorce. Contact my lawyer if you have any questions or need to get in touch for arrangements regarding the divorce. Otherwise, get a lawyer and let's get this over with. If you're truly remorseful, then do me the courtesy of giving me the easiest, most generous divorce possible. I loved you and I could have forgiven almost anything, except abject betrayal. I would have loved you for the rest of my life. On my way out, I got a call from Emily that I ignored. I put my phone on silent and dropped by the bank. I took out half our money from the various accounts we have. Checking, emergency, vacation fund. I have already frozen my credit. When I got to the hotel, I canceled our shared credit cards. I made arrangements to freeze our joint investment accounts so that she couldn't withdraw money from them. They're in my name. Adultery subreddit pro tip: people, if you cheat, make financial arrangements ahead of time in case you get caught. I then got a text from her. I left her on read because my lawyer told me that if she confesses to the affair over text, we can use that as more evidence for the divorce. I'm responding to her texts here only because it's therapeutic to me. Messing with the language/writing of her texts because I'm paranoid. Note, OP clarified that Emily used normal language in her texts and he only changed it to shorthand here to avoid her searching for her comments online and finding this post. This is the condensed version of the past 12 hours or so. WTF is this? I'm divorcing you. Answer your phone. We need to talk right now. Nope. I have had enough gaslighting for a lifetime, thank you very much. This was followed up by a lot of texts demanding I call her or answer her calls. No thanks. Then the texts changed. So I presumed she got home, and read the note and saw what I left. I don't know what you think you know, but I can EXP everything. It's not what you think. You're right, Emily. I'm a stupid idiot who'll believe anything you say. Divorce. We love each other. We're supposed to work through this mistake. Mistake. Oops, my wet hoo-ha fell onto John's erect wee-wee. Repeatedly. For almost a year. OPSY. Look, I know I fucked up. But don't do this. Don't leave like this. Finally, an acknowledgement of the affair over text. Zing. Write to my lawyer. I never stopped loving you. I never loved him. Another gift from Emily. Zing. Write to my lawyer. Then, the tone changed later. You are overreacting. You are acting like I never loved you, like I wasn't trying to fix things, but you wouldn't let me. Fix things. Okay. Build a time machine, Emily. Build a goddamn time machine. Are you just going to ghost your own wife? Consults Magic 8 Ball, all signs point to yes. Then, her parents showed up at the house. Hoo boy, what the fuck did you do? And then you had no right to involve my fam like this. Then followed by, are you trying to humiliate me? Are you trying to ruin my life? Do you hate me that much now? Kinda. It's complicated. After that comes a barrage of phone calls that I didn't answer. How could you do this? How could you try to turn my own fam against me? I'm not, I'm trying to have them not turn against me, and then I told you I never loved him. I never loved him. No one cares, honey. Least of all John. I know you love me. I love you too. We can fix this. We can fix everything. And then just tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this. I'll do it. Let me get this straight. You wiped your ass with our marriage vows and stabbed me in the back, and now you want me to tell you how to fix this shit? I had to go to Walmart because I forgot to pack underwear, and I don't have a rich sugar daddy to buy me some fancy skivvies from Saks Fifth Avenue. You never loved me if you can do this to me. Fuck this shit. I am going to have to block her instead of leaving her on red. I don't think I can take this, man. So this is how a marriage ends. No fanfare, no heroic deeds, just whining, crying, anger, and depression. Just like any other divorce, really. Only this is my divorce and it feels like the end of the fucking world. But in reality this is all just beginning. I feel this whole process is going to take years. I hope not. My lawyer assures me that, with the evidence we have, it'll go relatively quick. Meanwhile I'm thinking, what? Relatively quick? Relative to what? Continental drift? At this point, I just want to thank you beautiful men and women who supported and encouraged me. I'd vacuum out all your cars if I could, and clean your bathrooms. I just want a falling anvil to hit me in the head and cause amnesia like a cartoon character or a Hallmark Channel movie. I know this is tonally all over the place. I keep second-guessing myself if I did the right thing. I just changed my life today in a fundamental way. I'm wondering if it's a lateral move. I feel like I've moved from a warm cesspool to a cold gray rocky place. Is it an improvement? I feel like I have these scars now, and the one who gave them to me is the one person in the world I trusted the most. I will never forgive her. Now I have to buck up and walk it off like a real man because feelings and tears are weak and a turn off. I just want my mom. Update 5. Emily sends an email describing the affair. She says John saved her business, then began pressuring her until she gave in. It was supposed to be once, but he kept pushing for more and called her ungrateful when she tried to stop. She never loved him and always loved OP and hoped their relationship would survive this. Her family has also told her she messed up and understand why OP is divorcing her. OP can't believe she is acting like a victim and doing trickle truth without mentioning how fun she said it was and the credit card that bought her lots of expensive things. He just wants the divorce to be finished. OP is still ghosting Emily. She has not seen or spoke with him since he said goodbye and left for work the day she was served. Update 6. Night out with the brothers. OP is staying at a friend's rental. His friends take him out and play D&D. He tries to forget about life for a while. OP's lawyer says John's wife, Lisa, contacted her. They will work together on aligning evidence for their respective divorces. Update 7. Meeting John's wife and MIL. OP meets with John's wife, Lisa. They share timelines and evidence. On New Year's, John was vacationing with Lisa and their 3 kids, then he flew home early. Lisa found video of Emily going to their house with John that night. OP meets with his MIL. He has a very close relationship with her, especially after his mother passed. She brings him groceries and homemade meals and tells him he needs to eat more. The MIL asks if reconciliation is possible, and OP says the man Emily married is dead and the man who is left would treat her horribly. MIL says Emily is staying with them and spends all day crying in her room and only comes out to get water. OP suggests MIL gets her in therapy. Update 8. Bev, credit card records, and infidelity dodgeball. Bev deleted all social media and OP has no idea what is going on with her. The lawyer received the credit card records of the card John gave Emily. She spent $30,000 over 9 months, including hotel dates, gifts, and even items she bought for OP. She also spent $175 at a sex superstore for John, which affects OP the most. Emily's lawyer doesn't know they have the records. The credit card records infuriate and break OP, who calls Emily a whore with a wealthy John. Any remaining love for Emily is gone. Emily's lawyer has reached out to set up a meeting between both groups. OP can ask one question beforehand to get a full answer. OP asks to describe what really happened on NYE. Update 9. Lawyers. OP and his lawyer meet with Emily, MIL, and their lawyer. OP has anxiety and takes a pill which makes him happy and floaty during the meeting. Emily's lawyer offers terms which asks OP to try reconciliation for 9 months and then gets generous terms if they still divorce afterward. OP's lawyers say they will review it. Emily also provides a written answer about what happened on NYE. OP's lawyer brings up the credit card charges. Emily's party is shocked. Her lawyer stammers and was obviously unaware of the card. Mil shakes her head, especially at the sex store entry. Emily freaks out and nearly runs away. OP's medicine reacts and he throws up. He then offers Emily his terms, which has been updated to include his fresh puke. Discussions end. Emily's lawyer drops her as a client since he was a family friend doing a favor and didn't appreciate the lies from her. Emily's written answer about NYE states that she was actually working late with a bridezilla, then John met her and he drove her to his house so he could call his family, which he had just ditched on vacation. They then had unsatisfying sex and John did a power play to keep Emily after midnight, so she missed her kiss with OP. Here is OP's description of the events of the day. So we had the negotiation today around 10 a.m. Emily, as expected, looked well put together but tired. She had her hair up in a carefully crafted blonde ponytail and was wearing a very short black dress with a suit jacket. Emily looked at me with a pained expression and doing her fake smile. She was shaking slightly the whole time and taking these deep breaths periodically. She didn't say anything, but she sure looked like she wanted to. Emily's mom was dressed in a nice sundress and she had done her makeup and hair, or Emily had done it. She smiled at me genuinely and reached for me, but then held back like she realized I was the enemy today. I gave her a little smile and wave. My lawyer then pulled out a folder of the credit card records and put it on the table and told Emily's side that we know she had a Visa Infinite card in her name that was billed to John's wedding venue business. Emily immediately tensed up and froze, wild-eyed. Emily's mom's head snapped to stare at her. Emily's lawyer cleared his throat loudly and blinked like 700 times. My lawyer started reading off hotel charges and dates and asking why those charges and dates coincided with meetings with John in her appointment book. Emily started shaking and stammering. Her lawyer instructed her to be silent. He said that they were not aware of any credit card and that they were not notified of this evidence. My lawyer told them that they were notified now and handed him another folder with copies of the credit card records. My lawyer then talked about the charges in December that included the toy store and asked if she bought me and her family Christmas gifts with the card. Emily was breathing heavy and had a nice flop sweat forming. Not a good look, Emily. Not a good look at all. Her mom said what? And Emily's lawyer cleared his throat like a magician's assistant who knows the trick is about to fail. My lawyer then asked if Emily recognized the clothes I was wearing and could she point out in the card records which charges coincided with them. Emily stood up and looked like she was about to bolt. Her lawyer looked annoyed. My lawyer then asked Emily about the $175 charge at the local name sex superstore, and Emily's lawyer sighed heavily and said that he felt that the meeting has stopped being productive. Simultaneously, Emily's mom looked down at the floor, said "Oh God," and got up and left the room, her hand over her mouth. Knowing my MIL, the "Oh God" was more of a prayer than an expletive. God, sorry, I can't answer my phone right now. But if you leave your name, number, and a brief message. At the same time the sex superstore was mentioned, Emily started going crazy and saying she can explain. It's not what I think. Emily's shame has entered the chat. Floaty me just sat there like an ape researcher watching monkeys throw their shit at each other like, yep, this is happening. How many eggs do I have left at home? Forgot to count this morning. So I had taken the Klonopin an hour before the meeting on an empty stomach, and my stomach was now filing for divorce too. I hurried over to the small trash can, picked it up, and vomited into it. Not much came out other than the expensive bottled lawyer water I had drank earlier. Afterwards, I sat down casually like, nah, I didn't just vomit into a trash can, you're seeing things, while Emily was asking if I was sick and if I was okay. I ignored her. Emily started sobbing and apologizing and asked to speak with me privately, while her lawyer comforted her awkwardly while shushing her and herding her out of the room, taking the folder and a copy of our offer that my lawyer launched at him as he was gathering his stuff. His face was the color of a tomato, Floaty me observed. I was still sitting there after the door shut and my lawyer grabbed Emily's business records and told me that she was right, it would be a short meeting. Floaty me looked at my lawyer silently for a bit, and pointed at the vomit trash can. Can we make that part of our offer too? For the first time since I met her, my lawyer started really laughing hard. Like stomach-holding laughter. She said she'll mention it. As to what Emily said happened on New Year's Eve, it was something I couldn't have guessed. Emily said she actually did go to the Bridezilla's get-together in order to make an appearance. She was invited but not required to be there like she told me. She met John there because it was John who introduced her to the Bridezilla and got her that gig. John had a business relationship with Bridezilla's dad and was invited as well. John and Emily left the venue separately but met in the parking lot, and John gave Emily a ride to the hotel because she had been drinking. Instead of going to the hotel, though, John insisted they go to his home instead, despite her protests. She didn't want to antagonize him, so she went along with it but complained the whole time about getting out of there by 11:30. They went to his place, he FaceTimed his wife, they had very unsatisfying sex in his marital bed, her words, and she drove him back to the venue where the NYE Bridezilla family get-together was, which was empty by that time. She drove home, having sobered up some. Nauseating. But it's what I needed to hear. I had assumed they went to the hotel, had sex, and then again at his place. Turns out, they skipped the hotel entirely. He drove her straight to his house under the guise of needing to FaceTime his wife at midnight and to defile their marital bed. Romantic, right? At least she didn't enjoy herself, though, right? Right? That makes all the difference. Update 10, Emily's backyard cookout. OP is notified of a fire at his old house. He rushes there to find Emily in the backyard burning all of her expensive gifts from John. He startles her as he puts out the fire. She gives him a hug and won't let go. It's the first time they have been alone since he ghosted her. Her parents arrive and then the cops. They all scold her for the fire, but she seems happy just to see OP. Everyone leaves and OP donates the remaining items and changes the locks. Emily has started an apology tour and has told all friends and family the full details of her affair. She also has a new lawyer. Update 11, Bev's husband and post-nuptial agreement. OP meets with Bev's husband. Bev admitted to living vicariously through Emily's affair and asked for forgiveness from her husband. She cut all contact with Emily. He and Bev are working through things, but he came close to leaving her and their relationship is strained. OP created his final terms for the divorce. One non-negotiable item is that it is an at-fault divorce and Emily's infidelity is a matter of public record. Any person who looks her up online will see that her marriage ended due to her affair. The PI said most of his job is researching new boyfriends/girlfriends of upper-class people, and this type of thing ends those relationships fast. Lisa's divorce is going through and she will likely do very well, especially after Emily provided an affidavit of the entire affair. John is miserable, alone, and his kids want nothing to do with him. OP plans to write a letter to Emily explaining how reconciliation is impossible in order to reduce the lawyer back and forths and go straight to final negotiations. Update 12, Letters to Emily. OP is trying to write a letter to Emily to explain how reconciliation is impossible. He goes through many variations before finding one and sending it to her. The letter states the definition of love and how she went against it time and time again. He describes how she brought another man into their relationship and continued to kiss and make love with OP even immediately after doing the same with John. What she did wasn't just betrayal, it was defilement, it was degrading. She killed the version of OP she loved and is now trying to bargain with his ghost. It is over and they need to both move on. She receives the letter and cries uncontrollably according to MIL. OP's lawyer sends their final terms for divorce to Emily's lawyer and now they wait for her to accept or reply with changes. Update 13, Mother's Day and FIL. OP provides small updates. Emily attends an outpatient mental health facility each day after work. OP is moving back into his place after removing all of Emily's items/photos. OP called Mael for Mother's Day and had a good talk. John is trying to reconcile with Lisa, but her and her friends are ripping him apart in a chat that OP is included in. Emily has agreed to OP's divorce terms, so the final step is to meet and sign the final documents. Emily wants to make an agreement with OP entirely and completely separate from the divorce agreement. She wants to meet with OP in 1 year's time with a mediator and a counselor for a couple of hours. She and her parents have put $7,500 in escrow for it. They will pay for the therapist and mediator. All OP has to do is show up and participate in a good faith manner and he'll get the $7,500. This is entirely optional. There's no penalty for OP not showing up other than not getting the $7,500. Emily and family with go non-contact with OP for the year, them breaking NC will forfeit the $7,500 to OP, but states that there are enough inaccuracies that it is likely written by someone following him on Reddit making up the gaps. Finally, OP visits with FIL for what seems like the final time. FIL explains what they've learned in family therapy with Emily. Emily grew up believing she had to be perfect and thrived on receiving praise. When her business was failing in 2022, she couldn't go to OP or her parents for fear of being a failure, so she went to John, who mentored her and paid for her business expenses. Over 2 years, John started expecting more and said he would end it if she didn't do something extra in return. OP was the one thing in her life that made her feel like she could be a better person. And when she started lying to OP about how her business got out of trouble, that illusion shattered. So she decided she must be a bad person after all and acted accordingly by giving in to John's advances. Update 14, Divorce Papers Signed. OP and Emily meet to sign and notarize the divorce documents and the $7,500 agreement. As part of the latter agreement, Emily reads a radical honesty statement that explains everything about the affair. It says she still loves OP and will never forgive herself for hurting him. She admits to having a full-blown affair and was not coerced. She had fun with it and loved the lavish gifts and attention. But she never loved John. Emily then goes into explicit detail of the sexual acts she and John did. OP flees from the room and leaves the office entirely. As part of the $7,500 agreement, Emily's family has to go NC for 1 year, so at this point OP will not be hearing from any of them. OP is unsure if he will even meet in a year but is adamant that he will never get back with Emily. And with the divorce signed and Emily being NC, there shouldn't be any new updates until late summer when a judge finalizes the divorce. Excerpts from OP's description of Emily's statement are included here. She admitted John was a full-blown affair. John never forced or coerced her. She let it happen and she wanted it to happen. It was on me, she said, and then cried some more. John helped her with her business and gave her the credit card. He basically seduced her with his charm and the fact that he took her to all of these super exclusive and expensive places and she willingly allowed herself to be seduced. It's not an excuse. What stung was how she said it felt like success. Being wanted by a rich asshole validated her in a way she couldn't admit to herself at the time. She said it was fun in the beginning because she was able to separate it from our life and she was swept up in the romantic dates and the boutiques and him working his charm. Compartmentalization. She did repeat that she was never in love with him. It was just exciting and forbidden and sneaky. She said the sex shop purchase was a remote control vibrator, some costumes that she said were cheap and humiliating and she threw them away because they didn't fit well, condoms and lube. She insisted they always use condoms but they didn't in actual practice. She was aware of his vasectomy. She said she enjoyed the sex at first because of the excitement and forbid dances and new relationship energy, but then it became like a chore because John ultimately wasn't particularly great in bed and she started to feel guilty all the time and, yet again, she said she didn't love him. She said it stopped being fun when John started acting like he owned her and she owed him her time. She didn't like how possessive he was getting or how he treated her like a thing he bought rather than a person he cared about. She didn't end it then, though. When I asked why, she said she didn't have a good answer other than she felt stuck. She said the gifts and the credit card and the help with her failing business blurred the lines. She and Bev told herself to keep it going just a little longer until she could untangle herself because she was too deep in to cleanly break away. She said she had already started doing this in October when her business became profitable on its own. On NYE, she met John at Bridezilla's party and thought they were just going to a hotel as usual. Instead, he took her to his house without asking. They had sex in John's master bedroom reluctantly on her part, and then, right after, he FaceTimed his wife while Emily was still right there. She said the way he looked at his wife and the way he stole glances at her during that call made her feel sick. She said that because of their actions at John's home and after I accused her of cheating that night, she saw it for the ugly thing it was. That's when she decided she was done. She bought all the gifts and date nights for me out of guilt, which is not a big revelation at this point either. Same with the sex and love bombing for me all through the affair. And then she decided to get specific. It sounded like she was reading from the script of a low-budget porn shoot. Every word shredded me. Hearing what she let him do. What she chose to let him do felt like being erased. Like our sex life had been overwritten by some horrific bullshit. At that point, I couldn't hear any more. I felt like this balloon of ice-cold water exploded in my chest and I started breathing heavy and I just had to get the hell out of there. I ran out of the lawyer's office with Emily crying hard like she was surprised I didn't want to sit through this shit. Update 15, I'm a big dumb moron. OP is depressed because his final anniversary just occurred. He decides to read Emily's written statement which goes into detail about her affair, the same details that caused him to flee their previous meeting. It said essentially Emily had fun with John at first but it was ultimately unsatisfying. She would have sex with OP afterwards to feel less guilt about the affair. When John wouldn't let her end it, she decided to end it another way by going off of birth control to get pregnant by OP. John had a vasectomy, so no risk there. She had even more sex with OP to try to get pregnant. OP was oblivious and loved the attention from her. When she didn't get pregnant by New Year's, she just decided to end it with John regardless of his threats, but by then it was too late. OP was on to her and confronted her. See Update 1. OP then describes how reading about his inability to get Emily pregnant made him paranoid, so he decided to get tested for infertility. Many hijinks ensue. Update 16, it's all official now. The divorce is finalized. OP gives life updates for many of the actors in this saga, although no news from Emily since they are fully non-contact until next year. John's oldest daughter found a copy of Emily's confession in the home office and now refuses to communicate or do anything with him. He is threatening to sue Lisa for parental alienation. OP is possibly dating someone. It's confusing. He is also getting a puppy. And he's still in therapy. The final section is OP defending himself from accusations that this is all fake. There was a post in Infidelity calling OP out for discrepancies in his story. OP explained that in his early posts he obfuscated personal details which he later contradicted, such as saying his father was dead, because he was paranoid Emily would find the story and recognize him. Stories number 10. I found my ex's wife Reddit account, and my heart breaks for her. Me and my ex had a tumultuous on and off relationship for the better part of the last decade. He was my first ever love, my first kiss, and the first person I gave my body to. First time we broke up was because I found out he was lying to me about so much, but we were just teenagers in love, so we stayed in touch throughout the years, and he would beg me to take him back, and I never wavered fully until the time he reached out to me again earlier last year during a difficult time. I felt broken and alone, and I needed something familiar to fall back on, and slowly I started letting him back in. Although I never forgot the hurt and betrayal he put me through. The emotional abuse and dependency, but we got back like we were 18 again and head over heels, reminiscing about the good times we had, but I was always anxious and hypervigilant. He told me about his ex and how horrible of a person she was, how abusive, how lazy, and how sick she was. How I wasn't like her. A part of me blocked her out and refused to think about her. But of course I started catching him in lies again, and he started being unavailable, distant, and mean, and I realized I could never ever trust him and ended things for good. We haven't spoken since. I kept obsessing over our relationship and her. I googled his name and there it was, their wedding registry and baby shower, and for the first time I saw her, the same ex, now his wife and the mother to their daughter. My heart broke. She's earth-shatteringly beautiful, like supermodel status, and as much as I hate to admit it, I was jealous of her. I knew I never wanted to be with him again, but in my head I saw her as the woman who won the life I had built in my head for years. I see myself as beautiful and talented. I have a great career and loving family and friends, but I couldn't help the obsession. I had no intention of harming any of them and never will, but I found her Reddit account and had a simple epiphany. She's just like me, a flawed person but seemingly kind. She has similar interests to me, we watch the same shows, and we have similar problems and similar struggles. And yes, he was lying to me about a lot of things I could confirm through her posts. She talked about him like he put the stars in the sky, and I thought that maybe she was the one to change him. Then in among hundreds of comments I found a comment on an old deleted post of hers detailing the abuse, his abuse, the physical and the mental, the beating and the lies. And how she confronted him about a lie he used on me too. And after that her posts are about adoration towards him, and I realized that, my God, he finally broke her. And instead of feeling sorry for myself, I was heartbroken for her, a woman who could have easily been me. Comments. Commenter 1. Nobody ever talks about the mourning of what could have been in divorce/breakups that leads us to struggle through those remarriages and milestones, even for exes that we would never take back in a million years. I almost think the fact that we don't talk about it adds to the guilt over it. If I told my current husband that it was hard for me when my ex got remarried and seemed to be a functional husband, he would have been hurt, and he really shouldn't. I don't love my ex, and it's not about that. I could never feel anything romantic for someone who absolutely destroyed me and my child like that. But good Lord, is it ever a sucker punch when someone can't seem to get their life together for you, no matter how much you beg, is willing to do those things for someone else. It's not even about them. It's about why wasn't I good enough, even if you know in your core that you are, and that this one human's perception of you isn't reality. I'm glad you got that validation. And sending hugs. This part of things is messier than anyone ever tells you. Solidarity, friend. Commenter 2. I think about how my ex could date again, and how desperately I'd like to warn the next woman to keep her safe and not toil in the type of narcissistic abuse he is known for, but I'd be so afraid of him coming back into my world with more anger or having his target shift back to me. I'm too afraid to try that and just hope he ends up alone so that no future partners are hurt. He did everything with just enough deniability, brilliant with gaslighting, and has the world's most impressive mental gymnastics to make himself the victim no matter what. Example, a quote, "Do you know how hard your cancer has been on me?" partnered with insulting comments on my appearance during chemo, taking small items of mine spitefully when he lost something of his as like payback or something, ignoring me for days during treatment while I puke and cry on the floor, literally stepping over me one time without speaking, lying to my family and doctors about his support and making them think he is up to date with my care, all while I'm tasked with the household operations like cooking, cleaning, etc. despite extreme pain, fatigue and confusion from grade 4 brain cancer and chemo. I could go on for hours with examples of his bonkers take on caregiving and covert abuse and isolation. Meeting a new partner who is so kind helped reset the normal meter. I'm always surprised when I reflect on how I have been treated comparatively and what I put up with when I thought my prognosis was much shorter. Dating someone who can also take accountability, can discuss conflict in a calm voice, does the small sweet things, appreciates my efforts and loves and likes me despite a difficult diagnosis, a gift that I'll never be able to articulate a proper thank you for. Reply, my God, you are so strong. I'm so sorry you went through all of that while having an awful partner. I hope life is much kinder to you now. Stories number 11. Bride and groom trying to cancel my paid resort booking out of spite. Can they actually do that? I'm part of a destination wedding group booking through a travel agent. I paid for my full share of the resort reservation under my name, including flight and hotel, and was originally part of the bridal party. Due to personal conflicts and repeated emotional disrespect from the bride and groom, I chose to respectfully withdraw as a bridesmaid. No drama, no hostility. I made it clear that I was still attending the trip as a guest, separate from the wedding events. The bride removed me as a bridesmaid after already losing 6 others. I was the second last one. She then cut off all communication and told me I'd need to speak to her fiancé instead. He proceeded to threaten that unless I speak to her and resolve things on her terms, I would not be allowed to attend at all. I accepted the situation with grace and wished them well. But now they've retaliated by saying that since I'm not attending the wedding, they've cancelled my entire reservation. Even though I paid in full, the room is in my name, and I'm sharing it with another bridesmaid. The booking is under their group contract with the resort, but I have the invoice and confirmation under my name. They even told me do not attempt to show up, which feels like intimidation more than anything else. The resort says they can see the group, but not individual bookings, and that it's all managed through the travel agent. I've emailed the agent it's the weekend and I'm hoping she can confirm my spot. The trip is less than 2 weeks away, and I'm just trying to enjoy the vacation I paid for, separate from the wedding drama. My family and friends are livid, and yes, I will take legal action if this isn't resolved. But for now, I just want clarity. Has anyone gone through something like this before? Any advice on how to protect myself or what steps to take next? Thank you. I'm not looking for more conflict, just peace. Sum of comments. Commenter, so where do they think the bridesmaid you are sharing the room with will stay? Reply, they're expecting me not to go on the trip at all. We have therefore removed your name from the booking effective immediately. There will be no reservation under your name at the resort, so we advise you not to attempt to arrive under this booking. Your payment will not be refunded due to the non-refundable policy, and this matter is now closed. I've spoken to my paralegal bestie. A third party, despite being the bride or groom, cannot cancel a reservation made under my name that's been paid in full without serious legal implications. The lack of confirmation is what's making me nervous. Commenter, what does the other bridesmaid say about all this? Does she still expect you to foot half the cost for the room she now gets to herself? Or was she booted out as well, and where did her deposit go? Reply, the only bridesmaid left is an acquaintance of hers from Europe who's not in this country and doesn't speak English very well. I haven't met her, we've spoken briefly, she seems sweet. I helped her with the bookings and her transfers from the airport to the hotel. Our room is a split shared booking, but the room reservation is under my name. I'm staying for 7 days while she's only staying for 3, so the agent recommended doing a split booking under my name since I'm staying longer. She likely has no idea what's going on. Commenter, honestly, this is weird on everyone's part. Totally understand you want to just have a vacation, but you're sharing a room with a bridal party member, based on how the booking is structured. I'm not sure why you would think you're going to be able to have a vacation that will avoid them entirely. Your presence is going to just cause a massive amount of drama, and this vacation is going to be stressful. Like, why do this to yourself? If you can't get the money back, then you can attempt to the money back from them through legal means. Reply, that's a great point. I'm actually sharing the room with the last standing bridesmaid. She's a kind woman from Europe who doesn't speak much English and has limited involvement in the wedding events. It's also a large resort, so there's plenty of space to coexist without conflict. I paid for my portion of this trip in full back in March, and the wedding is less than 2 weeks away. I helped plan the bachelorette, the photo shoots, and was a consistent emotional anchor for the bride through several other bridesmaids stepping down. I was genuinely close to both the bride and groom, and any conflicts that arose were never met with this level of coldness or dehumanization before. Would I still have a good time? Absolutely. It's an all-inclusive resort, and as a grown adult with no ill intentions, I'm more than capable of enjoying the trip peacefully and respectfully, separate from the wedding. If there had been goodwill and maturity on both sides, we could have handled this with grace, without all this unnecessary fallout. Commenter: are the bride and groom refusing to pay you back for what you paid? Or do they simply not want you to attend the resort and are canceling your room and refunding you? If they are refusing to pay you back, threatening legal action is your best bet. I would talk to the travel agent about getting your money back for the room. If you are no longer part of the wedding, I would think they can cancel your room if it was part of the room block but would still have to refund you. Reply: yes, they are refusing to pay back. I've noticed several comments suggesting I try to cancel and just book a different resort, and I understand the sentiment. That said, the wedding is less than 2 weeks away, and at this point the trip is non-refundable for all parties involved. Another important thing to consider is that not everyone has the financial flexibility to drop thousands of dollars on a vacation and then simply rebook somewhere else, especially in this economy. For many of us, a trip like this is a once-in-a-year kind of expense, not something easily replaced. Commenter: 100% take them to small claims court, or the equivalent wherever you are. Reply: thanks. I'm in Canada and that's the plan if I no longer have the reservation, however I'm hoping to avoid this and that the reservation is secure. Commenter: while you're asking about options, consider asking about changing dates. Without knowing more about your situation, I don't know if changing your travel date is feasible for you, but if it is, then that's one more option to check with the resort/travel agent about. Reply: good question, the flight was booked independently outside of the wedding group and cannot be altered. However, if a resolution isn't found with the booking, I'm more than happy to book with a different resort. OOP clarifies: the 6 other bridesmaids were removed prior to my removal. She booted me as a bridesmaid and offered for me to stay as a guest, to which I agreed. This was my withdrawal as a bridesmaid but acceptance as a guest. OOP comments 1.5 hours later: thank you so much. I have sent an urgent email to the agent. As it's the weekend, I'm hoping to hear a response from her tomorrow. I'm collecting as much information as I can for more clarity on the situation until then. Here are the key points mentioned in the email. I would appreciate urgent clarification on the following. Is my reservation under the group booking still valid and active? If it has been altered or cancelled by any third party, please explain how this was permitted without my direct consent. Could you kindly share the cancellation and modification policies for group bookings under your agency? Side post. Title: How the Bride Lost All 7 of Us. A lot of people have been asking about how this bride lost all 7 of her bridesmaids, including me. I never replied to it in the other post because I'm solely there for friendly advice and resolutions to the situation. But I understand wanting to know more, so if you're here from the other post, welcome back. Please keep in mind that all of this information is directly from the bride, except for my story. A bridesmaid story. This bridesmaid found out she was pregnant before booking a trip. She let the bride know that she didn't feel comfortable traveling overseas as this is her first pregnancy and she'd like to stay in the country. The bride was not happy about this. She brought up her disappointments with this bridesmaid a few times, saying someone else is still coming to the wedding even though they're in the same trimester of their pregnancy. Each time she brought it up, I reassured her that though I understand her disappointment, the bridesmaid is still being reasonable as it's her pregnancy. If she's not comfortable, then it's perfectly valid. At that time I reassured her that it's okay, she has other bridesmaids, 2, 3, and 4. These bridesmaids dropped out pretty early. I don't have any details as I don't know them personally. The reasons given by the bride were events already in place for the date of the wedding and financial reasons. Number 4 was an argument. She didn't go into details, but number 4 was the first bridesmaid to get booted. 5. This bridesmaid was a friend of the bride since back in university. The story is a little convoluted, so I'll do my best to stay on an appropriate timeline. This bridesmaid had just got engaged prior to our bride asking her to be a bridesmaid. They both had a mutual friend who is also getting married. The mutual and the bride had a bad fallout back in university. This mutual and this bridesmaid are still friends and are attending each other's weddings. When our bride asked this bridesmaid to be one, it created conflict with the mutual, and this bridesmaid uninvited our bride to her wedding and withdrew as a bridesmaid due to conflict with the bride over these issues. 6. This bridesmaid was the closest to the bride and had a long history of on and offs during their relationship over the years, based on stories the bride had shared with me. The last I spoke to the bride about this bridesmaid only 2 months before the wedding. She was supposed to visit the bride, but that didn't end up happening. The only details I have are what the bride provided in our shared bridesmaid group chat, as she didn't reach out to me directly to speak about this one. It stated that she could not attend for personal reasons. 7. Me. We know my story for the most part. I've made Pinterest boards and idea pages for her photo shoots. I helped support her through the loss of the bridesmaids. I built her a personal little makeup kit for the days of the wedding and offered to touch up her makeup as needed. The last thing I helped with was to find themes and ask her preferences for the bachelorette, which she replied to with ick. I'll just ask ChatGPT lol. This was the start of our fallout. I booked off time from work, bought the flight tickets, and paid for my reservation well in advance. The most important being the emotional support during all of these stressors that she consistently had regarding bridesmaids, her mom, her fiancé. Things progressively got worse the closer we got to the wedding date. It wasn't always like this. I visited the bride quite often in support of the wedding, however the last few trips didn't go well. She had been erratic in her behaviors and quite rude. Anytime I would mention it, she would speak on me, triggering her, and how she was uncomfortable with me making her feel a certain way. She claimed that I had not been supportive and that I'm causing drama by not accepting the toxic behavior. She wasn't always like this. I wish I could provide more clarity, but I genuinely don't know what happened. We don't live in the same city and communication through text became very different than in person. So when the time came and she booted me, I chose to peacefully agree with the bride's decision to remove me as a bridesmaid. Their retaliation afterwards was unnecessary. And that is the history of how this bride lost 7 bridesmaids and how her only remaining bridesmaid is a foreign lady from Europe who is helping fill in the last spot. No shade to the last bridesmaid though, she's sweet. Update post, July 28, 2025, 2 hours from side post. Next day from OG post. Hey everyone, I just need to start with how incredibly grateful I am for all the support, information, everything that's been offered here. I am wholeheartedly really thankful for you. Now for the good part, I still have the room. The bride and groom were bluffing. There was a lot of support on here of people confirming this. I see you. The agent ghosted me. A few people here said it might happen. I tried calling periodically again, my number started going straight to voicemail, and she hasn't replied to any emails. A majority of you told me to contact the hotel directly, and I genuinely cannot thank you enough. A lot of people are wondering why I'm still going, and though I have confirmed it in the comments, I will reintegrate for clarity. I have prepaid the flight tickets, the reservation itself, booked time off work, purchased many things for this vacation, even the transfers between the hotel and airport are already done, and it's cost me roughly 5,000 Canadian dollars. This trip is less than 2 weeks away, and the reservation for this hotel at this time is non-refundable. These are the key reasons why I was hoping for a resolution. I had contacted the hotel last Friday before I posted this on the weekend. They were able to find the group booking, but the guy doing it wasn't able to find my reservation. I called again today to see if there was another department that could help, and the lady that answered was phenomenal. She confirmed the booking, confirmed that despite the drama happening they can't cancel my reservation. As a few of you recommended, she did put a note on my reservation saying that I will be arriving and not to change it for any reason. Lastly, she told me to come and enjoy my trip as it's a wonderful vacation and I'm likely to have an incredibly good time. That this happens a lot and that everything will work out, the hotel has my back. And that, as they say, is that. Sum of comments. Commenter, ID Gold, you aren't losing any money. Just one thing. Please don't interfere with the wedding. Don't be a drama llama. Just avoid it, and the guests too. Enjoy a quiet break, stay away from stuff you aren't involved with, keep posts on social media to a minimum till you get home. Let them have their wedding in peace and you can move on knowing you were the bigger person here. Reply, this love your user BTW. This is exactly it. I don't plan on engaging with them, in fact I plan on pretending like I don't know them. If I see them I'm walking the other way, and if I can avoid them I will do so at all costs. I'm so overwhelmed with excitement for the trip itself that they're not even on my mind, to be quite honest. Any drama that's created will definitely come from their part, and third-party observers will understand this. I'm sure everyone else at that resort is there to have a good time, and anyone causing conflict is not going to be taken well by staff or others enjoying the resort. Commenter, according to your other post, the room was a split shared booking with the other bridesmaid, who's staying there for 3 of the 7 nights. What's the plan for that? Did she cover part of the cost of the room? The way you worded it, it sounds like her name is on the reservation too. Just like they couldn't remove you, you can't remove her. Are you just gonna bunk with her and risk the awkwardness and the bride getting access to your stuff? I don't see how you're comfortable with this. That sounds stressful as hell, but you do you. Hope you have a good vacation and that it all works out. Reply, all valid points, let's break them down. Yes, she covered part of the cost for the room. She's only there for 3 days and paid $750 where I paid $3,000 for the room for 7 days. The remaining $2,000 went towards flight, transportation, and excursions. It's a shared booking and neither of us can boot each other out of the room. I've confirmed this with the hotel. I am going to bunk with her and risk the awkwardness. I'll be making sure to lock up all my belongings whenever I'm not in the room. Upon arrival I will let them know about the situation and if they can provide me with a suite of my own I will definitely take it. I'm a genuinely chill person and will withdraw from conflict if appropriate communication is not helping with the situation at hand. Disclosure, we are well past communication directly with the bride and groom at this point. With the amount of excitement I have for this trip alone, the energy that I'll be bringing, I'm hoping she vibes with it. Sparkling heart. She's also only arriving for the 3 days which she'll be busy being a part of the wedding regardless of my 7 days and I get 4 days all to myself. Stories number 12. I 42M think wife 40F might be cheating. I have recently been starting to wonder if my wife might be cheating but am not sure what to do from here. I have no smoking gun for evidence so I don't want to confront her or bring it up in case nothing is happening, or to have her cover things up. It has just been small things and a spidey sense. About 4 months ago she started working out a lot more and became much more interested in how she looks. She is very attractive but never really wore much makeup or did much with her hair. She has also started being protective with her phone, which I know is a bad sign. It is normal for us to go into each other's phone but no, it never leaves her side, and if I ask for it to take a picture or something, she will tell me to use mine. She has also been staying late at work more often and has been taking a few more out-of-town trips for work. In this last 4 months she hasn't initiated any kind of intimacy and only gives me pecking type of kisses. I tried to initiate with her a handful of times and she rejected me a few times, and a few times she let me go through with it but wasn't engaged and just laid there. It made me feel really bad, worse than getting rejected outright. I brought up the lack of intimacy a while back and she said that she was exhausted all the time from being a mom, work, and lifting weights. She said that she would try to do a better job and kissed me later that night but nothing has changed. I have wondered if it might be some kind of midlife crisis kind of thing. There is a guy at her work that I am thinking could be trouble. My wife used to talk about him a lot but a few months ago she quit mentioning him. But I know they still work closely together. From what I can gather, he is married with kids and told my wife that he is having marital issues. I met him briefly a few times and he basically ignored me. We were around a lot of other people. He isn't nearly as attractive as me and definitely not in great shape like me, not to brag but it's true. I am big and strong and he is kind of average and a little overweight. But he dresses flashy and is outgoing and likes to drink. I don't really like drinking and my wife has mentioned a few times that she wished I would go out drinking every now and then. I graduated high school and he has a master's degree. He also makes a lot more money than I do. I train fighters and love what I do, but make a very modest living. This guy probably makes 6x what I do and flaunts what he has. I just bring up all that as my assessment of how we differ. The biggest thing that I have been wondering about is that this last trip for work was at a tropical resort type of place and my understanding at the time was that there were a big group of them going. It turns out that it was just my wife, the flashy guy, and the CEO. The CEO is very old and doesn't really interact socially, he is just all business. In my imagination, my wife and this other guy spent a lot of time together over that week doing who knows what. My dilemma is that I want to see if my gut feeling is right, but don't want to cause a bigger issue by accusing her or asking. We have had a few ups and downs over the years but have had a pretty good overall marriage from my side. No major issues or anything. I am not the most outgoing guy and I don't make much money, which has been a small issue for my wife. She says I am not living up to my potential and I could make a lot more money doing something else. I don't want to make it sound like she is obsessed with money in any way, but I know women are more comfortable with a bigger nest egg. She thinks I can do other things but I am not really qualified for anything other than fighting or training fighters. That's basically been my entire life. Or, possibly being a personal trainer. None of those things are big money makers. But other than those things, she seems pretty happy. A friend of mine said I should keep my suspicions to myself and start doing things to spy and collect evidence, if it's there. But I feel weird about violating her privacy. If she is cheating, I can't imagine I would ever stay with her. I hope I am wrong about all of this. But thoughts of her cheating are starting to flood my mind and I feel like I need to find out either way. We have 2 kids and that is the part that scares me. I am involved in every part of my kids' lives and my heart would be broken to only see them half the time. Sorry for the long post. I would love to hear some ideas on how to deal with this. Update. So here is the newest information. I was able to get the login information for our cell phone account. She uses her phone a lot for work and nothing looked weird until I started sorting the numbers and times. There were a ton of texts to one specific number at times very late at night, a few hours after we go to bed. I am going to see whose number that belongs to and find a way to get into her phone and see what name it is saved under. After I saw this I started to get emotional and angry. I tried to tell myself it could be a mistake or some girlfriend of hers. Last night I tried to initiate, expecting to be rejected. And rejected I was. She said she was sorry but was too tired and had a headache. I told her that I was feeling like we weren't connecting very well. She said she is sorry and will try to be better. She said that last time. I didn't push the issue or anything, just told her good night and went to bed. This morning she told me she was thinking about taking a girls' trip to Vegas. She doesn't gamble. I asked who she would go with and it was a few girls I never met. Apparently friends from college. Maybe all this is a coincidence but a lot of stuff is looking weird. Update. Basically, I have been suspecting my wife might be cheated for a while. I finally did some snooping and looked at the detailed cell phone records online. I noticed that there were texts to one number that were made in the middle of the night. They were in the hundreds. I called the number from a pay phone and it went to one of her coworkers, the one I thought could be trouble. I was able to get her phone while she was in the shower and the text conversation was the one thing deleted. Also, that guy's number was saved in her phone and a female's name. I am now very worried about the out-of-town trips that she was on where this guy was with her. I had to leave the house and cool off. I was able to get it together enough to come home but don't know what to do from here. If I confront her with what I have, she will probably explain it away. I don't know if I should try to keep it quiet and get more evidence or if I should come out with it sooner. I am really angry. I am furious at her but also wanting to go after the guy. It will take everything I have to not do that. I am worried that she will admit to inappropriate flirting and I won't have enough evidence to get her to admit it all. Any advice on when to confront her? I am going to stay awake during the time she texts him and then interrupt her and ask her who she is texting. See if she lies to me. Update 2. I laid in wait last night after everybody went to bed. I pretended to be asleep and waited to see if she got out of bed to get on her phone. Sure enough, she gets up a little after midnight and goes into another room and closes the door. I wait a few minutes and I got up and quickly opened the door and walked up to her and said I couldn't sleep and asked what she was doing. I caught her mid-text and was standing over her too fast for her to delete anything. I watched her hand as she slowly tried to tuck the phone away. She said she couldn't sleep either and was texting a girlfriend. I had a plan and went into it. I got on top of her and started kissing her and asked if she wanted to fool around. As I expected, she said she couldn't. So I started laughing and tickling her and made a comment that she must be more into the girlfriend that she was texting than me. Then I started to playfully wrestle with her and got the phone. I could see the panic in her eyes. She tried to get it back from me but I turned away and held it in the air, like I was playing keep away. I was laughing and acting like I was having fun the entire time. I told her that I was going to call this girlfriend and ask if she was into my wife. My wife yelled out, "Please don't call her." I started walking away and pulled up the text messages and I saw one that said "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." I pressed the call feature and it seemed like it took forever, but sure enough the guy answered. I hadn't planned out what to say so I just hung up. Then I started reading through the texts in front of my wife. I asked her if she though her girlfriend answered, or a guy. She didn't say anything. Then I started reading off the texts out loud and asked her why she was sending this to a guy at night. She said she didn't know. I asked her if she needed to tell me anything. She was quiet. Then I told her that I had looked at the cell phone records and knew everything. I knew when she would wake up to text this guy and that I knew who the guy was. She started crying and saying she was sorry. I kept my cool. I explained that the next few minutes were very important and if she didn't tell me the complete truth that there would be severe consequences. She said she started flirting with her coworker and that he was having marital issues and it turned into flirting. She said she never did anything with this guy. My fear was she would only admit to what I already knew. I told her that if she can't give me the entire truth that she needed to pack a bag and leave. She agreed to do that, as she cried and said she was sorry. Before she left the house she asked if I was going to leave her. I told her that it was late and we would discuss that later. She left for her mom's house and I haven't seen her since. But she was blowing up my phone so I turned it off. My plan is to try to find a marriage counselor and make an appointment. I want my wife to think I want to work things out for a while until then, when I will explain that I am at counseling to get walked through the process of splitting up. This entire incident last night was something I had planned out in my head. Since I was pretending to wrestle with her and tickling her, I wanted to cover myself. So I recorded everything with my phone, just in case she tried to accuse me of something. I asked my friend if me recording in our state was legal and he said it was. I don't think she would ever falsely accuse me of anything, but if I am leaving her, she might get desperate. I am 6 feet 4 inches and an athletic 240 pounds. I am also an ex-fighter and now train fighters. So if there is any accusation of abuse I will not be believed and will get arrested and lose my kids. So my plan is to record everything from here on out just as an insurance policy. I am completely heartbroken right now. My entire family has been blown up. I will miss 50% of my kids' lives growing up and feel destroyed. I had suspected something but am still in shock. The worst part is that this is all just beginning. I want to confront the other guy but will need to restrain myself. I was told that he said I looked terrifying when he first saw me, so I would like to scare him. I also saw that he referred to me as the animal in one of the texts, after she made a comment about me not being too bright. I don't make much money or have a college degree, but I am an intellectually curious person and read lots of books about all sorts of topics. I am not the smartest guy, but I feel like I am not stupid. I will try to update as things go on. Not sure what advice I can get at this point. I am just devastated. Update 3. I appreciate all the support I have received through this ordeal. I am going through a lot right now and wish I have had the time to respond to the advice and words of encouragement passed my way. To update, my attorney friend was able to recommend a lawyer that specializes in family law. Not only that, but supposedly this guy was also cheated on and these cases allow him to exact revenge. This is what my friend said when he recommended this lawyer. He is going to be very flexible on his fees and genuinely wants to help. Maybe this is on the positive side of the ledger. Now on to the other side, my wife admitted to the affair. She told me that it started as flirting, then turned into an emotional affair, but never turned physical. I saw right through that and then she finally admitted that it turned physical, which coincided with the point in time when she shut down intimacy with me. I got a lot more details than I thought I could take. It was a very hot and steamy affair. To say this has really messed me up would be an understatement to the highest degree. I am wrestling with my emotions and can't keep a thought in my head. I told my wife it would be best for her to stay with her mom for the time being and that I will take care of the kids, so they can be at home and have some stability. My attorney is working his magic in the meantime. I am in the house and this is a big advantage, according to him. I have also not told her that our marriage is over. She will find that out when she is served the papers, which will be coming soon. I can't keep the intrusive images of my wife and this guy out of my head. I coach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for professional and semi-professional fighters, and am trying to give them as much attention as I can. The physicality of my job seems to have been helpful. Obviously I am also putting everything into my kids. Outside of BJJ, my passion is learning about new topics. I normally read for a few hours a night to unwind. But I haven't even been able to get through a paragraph without losing focus. After seeing that they were referring to me as a stupid animal, I imagine all the other things they may have said. The whole thing has really got to me. I have always been a happy person, but the joy is just gone. On another note, the word has got out on what has happened and there have been a lot of people offering to assist in any way they can. It definitely helps to feel like I have support. A number of my friends' wives have sprung into action and said they know beautiful women that they want to hook me up with. Including a few that know me and are very interested in my upcoming single status. I won't be dating until this is all over with, and probably not for a while after that. But knowing that there are a lot of options is a nice feeling. I think I will be okay. Right now, it's just all about the kids. I will try to update at some point soon. My wife is hysterical and is pushing to stay married. I know I can't get over what she did, so staying together would be delaying the inevitable. Update 4. Life has been chaotic, but I wanted to log back into this throwaway account and give an update on my situation. I had discovered my wife having an affair and also found out that she thought I was stupid and a loser for not earning a high salary. I filed for divorce and it should be wrapped up next month. We will have 50-50 custody and she will be paying spousal support, since she out-earns me by a large margin. That is the current legal situation. Now on to the other fallout. I am heartbroken, as are my kids. I never thought I would be a single dad, but here I am. My wife seems to be falling into some kind of depression. The guy she cheated with decided that she wasn't worth the trouble. From what I am told, she has started drinking and going out with a lot of random guys that she meets online. There have been more than a handful of times where she called me and begged me to take her back, so she can have her old life back. Part of me wanted that, but I have held strong. After she found out how much money she will have to pay me every month, that seems to have made her angry towards me. So I don't have to worry about her calling. My kids don't understand. Every second they aren't with me, I feel miserable. I am also lonely all the time. I haven't spent much time with friends and mostly just stay home. The girl that works at a coffee shop I frequent even asked me if everything was okay, because I looked sad. I guess I'm not hiding it as well as I think. There are people I know that want to set me up with women they know, but I don't want to do it because I feel like I am branded as the guy whose wife cheated on him. It has been so long, I have no idea how to date. I had a few fighters do really well on a pretty public stage, and that has been the only spark I have felt in a long time. I really don't know what I will do next. At some point, I need to snap out of it and move on. I just haven't reached that level of motivation though. I did have somebody I know get into contact with the other guy's wife, and show her the proof I had. I just couldn't live with nothing happening to him. I am not allowed to go after him, so this was the next best thing. She didn't believe it at first, but then I heard about there being major marriage issues for them. As far as I know, they are together but on the rocks. I have a lot of anger over everything. It is crazy to think how life can be fine one minute, then completely upside down the next. One positive that has happened is that I did meet a girl through some friends that I am interested in. I haven't asked her out or anything though. She is stunningly beautiful but is about 14 years my junior. I don't know that's a major issue, but that is a pretty big age gap. Given what I have been though, I think my confidence has really been dinged. I feel like she is too attractive for me. She might actually be, I suppose. But I have been thinking about her a lot, so that's been the last half year of my life. I have to say it has been the worst I have ever felt. I have always been a very happy person but just feel dark and gloomy now. Final update. I haven't been on Reddit in a very long time. I logged in and saw that there were some people asking for updates to my situation, so I thought I would let everybody know that I am doing well. Long story short, I found out my wife was cheating on me with a coworker. Then I divorced her. I was with her for about 15 years in total, so to say my new life has been an adjustment would be an understatement. I do have moments where I feel a sense of sadness or loss, but those are fleeting. For the most part, I feel great. My kids are doing well and they are with me a lot. One of the things that happened after the divorce was my wife had to take in more accounts at work to pay for her new single living situation, as well as spousal support. To me, she earned a lot more than me. When the pandemic hit, I had a very flexible schedule, so I was able to keep the kids with me and do homeschooling. Since my job involved physical contact with other people, the pandemic has slowed that down. Not a lot of opportunities for my guys right now. So in a way, it has been like I am a stay-at-home dad. I took some time to myself after the whole ordeal. The younger girl I was interested in took a long assignment with her company in Europe. We stayed in touch through technology. After her assignment ended, she came back and we have been together ever since. She loves me and my kids. She is an extremely compassionate and considerate person. Before we were introduced, I was told that there was an amazing woman that resembled Wonder Woman and was the nicest person you could ever meet. I thought it was too good to be true, but she is absolutely the real deal. I think there will probably be some next steps in our relationship coming soon. Things for my ex have not really worked out. She started drinking and hooking up with random guys she met online. Having to take more accounts has also taken a toll on her. Just in the last few years, she looks like she has aged 15 years. She was always pretty, but the last time I saw her she looked ragged. Like her life force was depleted. A weird thing to say, but that's what it looked like. Her best friend told me that she is miserable and hard to be around. I don't think I will ever understand how a person that is seemingly happy and in control of their life can spiral into such a dark place. My ex's friend did also tell me that she never thought I would leave her after the affair. I think she felt a sense of control over me because of her high income. So the affair had consequences that she didn't anticipate. I do hope she finds peace, for my kids' sake. Other than some challenges due to the pandemic, things are great. I am so glad I immediately ended my first marriage, rather than dragging it out. I knew I was making the difficult decision, but that it was the right thing to do. Then I just grinded along. I have no problem inching a little forward every day, knowing eventually I will get through. If you are in this situation, you need to think about things in the long term. You might feel devastated at first, then sad, then depressed, then hopeless. But no matter what, you push ahead, work out hard every day too. The key is to try to do one thing every day that improves you or adds to your skill set, not self-help stuff, but real skills. I got into making short films of the guys I train and learned about videography and editing, which has been a fun hobby. I read more books to learn about all sorts of things. I just tried to do something every day. Small things add up over time. You just need to make sure you are putting in the work and let yourself be patient. Stories number 13. Aita for stopping paying my ex's bills. My ex and I split up about 3 years ago. No bad feelings, we just drifted apart until we realized that we were now co-parents, not husband and wife anymore. We have 2 kids, 13 and 10. My ex used to work as an infrastructure engineer and I was working as an owner-driver with my own truck. At around the time the kids were born we decided she was going to be a stay-at-home mom. The trucking was going well and I had brought a second truck and a van, so I stayed home doing all the planning and admin, while I had the trucks and van out. When the smallest started school the ex went back to work part-time, but her time out of the workforce had hit her really hard and she needed to learn lots of stuff, and basically she couldn't get back in at her previous level and had to pretty much start over. Over the years the haulage firm had expanded and frankly it was getting a bit of a pain in the arse. We were too big for where we were and were needing to move to a new yard, so I sold it off for a reasonable sum and set up freelancing as a dev. Did computer science at uni. We both had relatives pass away leaving us property and money. So we were mortgage free on the family home. When we split, I moved into a house that I had inherited. We basically split the assets in half, split the costs of the kids' activities in half. And when we were sat looking at the money, she concluded that she would need to go back to work full time and she would miss time with the kids, as they were with me the 3 days she was at work and every other weekend. I felt a bit bad for that, because if she hadn't been out of work for so long then she would be in a better place career-wise. So I offered to cover half of her bills until the kids went off to uni. She didn't want to at first, but I said to her that she helped me out and had now suffered as a result, so it was only fair that I returned the favor. It's helping my kids out, and I didn't want her to be running down the savings that was essentially the kids' inheritance. So this situation has worked out about as well as it can. We co-parent happily, everything is all good. Until she met a new guy. He's someone we knew from way back but we lost touch with. They started dating, she's really happy and she's talking about him moving in. Which I'm okay with. The kids get on with him and I trust her judgment and know that she wouldn't put anything ahead of the kids. So I said to her, if Lado is moving in you won't need the money towards the bills, will you? She said no she wouldn't, but she was thinking of putting it into the kids' accounts. Great idea, says me. I'll put some on their cards for pocket money and the rest in their savings. So that was what we agreed, but when new chap found out he went up the wall and accused me of being controlling and financial abuse. A few of our friends have also said that he's got a point and that it looks like jealousy. So AITA here. Some of comments. OOP adds context. Just to add context and in the interest of fairness, my money has no bearing on whatever financial arrangement they have between themselves. There's no way my ex will let him live there and not contribute. Commenter. Info: I don't understand this arrangement. Is she living mortgage-free in a house that she owns? Does she work now? The new guy is not responsible for putting money towards her house or paying for her personal expenses. Reply: she lives mortgage-free in a house that she owns but was the marital home. Because we inherited my dad's house, the settlement was that I traded my half of the family home for her half of my dad's house. She works part-time the 3 days a week the kids are at mine. I would imagine she's asked him to chip in towards the bills, as she's losing her discount on the council tax by him moving in, and generally people share living costs. Update: we have joint 50-50 custody of the kids, so I have no actual obligation to be paying anything, but that said, I don't want my kids to miss out on their many and varied activities, so I carry on paying for half of those. Likewise, I offered the extra money to help with bills because I wanted my kids to benefit from time with both parents and also to not have to live in a house where money is a worry. Some have mentioned when division of assets from inheritance and selling my business, these are mostly locked away in long-term investments so they aren't available. We were perhaps unwise in doing this, but we saw it as the kids' inheritance. My ex would rather have worked more than dipped into that money for living costs. The ex has been round for a cup of tea and a chat. It seems that Lado was indeed thinking that she was his meal ticket. Apparently he had suggested moving in but not told her that his landlord was ending his tenancy on a Section 21 to sell the property. When she started discussing money and his contribution, he asked why when I was paying for the kids. So she told him if he was living there he needed to chip in, and that if he moved in she couldn't keep asking for money from me. So she's upset and I think that's going to be over. In the meantime he's ranting to anyone that'll listen that I'm the typical evil jealous ex and controlling her with money. Comment next day. Commenter, NTA, why do the friends comment on what you both agreed to do? I would just ignore what people say. The new chap has no business here either. Reply, at least one has reached out to apologize. They got a somewhat twisted version of events. They messaged my ex to badmouth me and she put them straight. Update post. So Lado turned out to have been being kicked out of his place not through fault, the landlord was selling, he hadn't told my ex. Also he works with my best mate who told me that he's on incredibly thin ice and was on his last chance for attendance. Me, the ex and Lado got together at the weekend and had a long chat. The main points were, if he is going to be her partner and live there then he has to step up, and contribute both financially and also with the children. As regards the bills, both my ex and I had an expectation that another adult in the house would be contributing, meaning that bill money from me would be superfluous. I agreed that stopping the money because someone moves in and potentially restarting it if they move out does look like it's controlling, although it was agreed that I didn't have that intent. I said that I would continue giving my ex the money and that if it was surplus to requirements that she would put it in the kids' accounts. I do trust her that she will do this. At that point I left, and went home thinking all was good. I'm on holiday with the kids this week and I got a warning that the house alarm was going off. Rang me neighbor and he went round and said that one of the windows had been smashed and that my other car had had all its windows smashed. Logged into my cameras on the iPad and sure enough it's Lado smashing the fuck out of the car and throwing bricks at the window. Turns out that after I left him and the ex had a major talk where she laid out some home truths and expectations, and when she didn't like the reaction she got she ended it. So a couple of days later he got pissed and came round to my place and smashed it up. I obviously reported it to the police and with me being away they spoke to me over the phone and asked me to send all the footage if I could and a statement and they'd speak to him that day. Turns out he got stopped on the way back from mine, was over the limit and was sleeping it off in custody before he could be charged. Edit. I've seen a couple of comments about how I need to speak to the ex and tell them to be more careful. I 100% trust her judgment in who comes into the kids' lives. I was just as surprised by him as she was, and like most people she's capable of learning from experience. Also another edit. The Glaziers have been back out, oh the lady next door big style for all the help she's been, and apparently the total bill just for the house is going to be about £7,000. That's not counting the car, which is an old Rover I was restoring, so no idea how much that will cost. Sum of comments. Commenter 1. Some people just can't help themselves from self-sabotaging. Reply, I've got some sympathy to a certain extent because he suffers really badly with PTSD from when he was in Iraq for Optelic. But I was there too and it's like dude we're all suffering but you have to do something to help yourself and he never has. To a deleted comment. I've known the guy 25 years. Went to Iraq at the same time when we were in the army, his artillery unit was our brigade artillery, would have regular drinking sessions when we were stationed in Germany, share lifts back to home for leave and stuff. Never would have thought he would pull a stunt like this. I'm truly shocked. Commenter 2, when he sobers up, press charges for breaking and entering and property damage, then send him the bill for all the repairs. Reply, you don't press charges here. I've made a complaint of criminal damage, the police will investigate that complaint and if they have sufficient evidence to charge it, which they will, they'll charge the person and summon them to court. There's some interplay with the CPS who may decide against prosecuting and I'm not sure on the threshold where the police can charge or it needs CPS approval. If I refuse to support a prosecution they may discontinue it or they may prosecute anyway. Why he and ex divorced. The short version is that we ended up being roommates that were looking after kids instead of husband and wife. We went to couples counseling and all that and we came to the conclusion that it was too late for us as a couple but we would still salvage the co-parenting, which after a lot of hard work we're managing. Update. Probably the final update now. Got back home with the kids after our week away. I've got the window people fitting new windows. Had a victim update from the police. They charged with criminal damage, but apparently they're treating it as domestic violence. I had to get a friend who is a lawyer to explain that to me using crayons. But the main consequence is that they kept him in custody overnight, whipped him before the magistrates the next day. They sent the case to Crown Court and released him on police bail, and he's not allowed near either of our homes or to contact either of us, and he has to stay at a bail hostel which is in another town about half an hour away. He's looking at some prison time for this. I just hope that while he's in there he gets his head sorted out and his issues dealt with. Commenter 1, good. DV-related criminal damage has a larger potential for prison time and longer potential sentences. Reply, I thought it was a stretch, but my friendly lawyer said that because he was in a relationship with my ex, that the children are hers, and that my house is one of their homes, then the smashing up of my house made them victims. Stories number 14. Aita for leaving a trip early because it got too expensive. I female 28 went on a bachelorette for the weekend. Prior to the trip I let the group chat know that I'm on a budget and need to know the expenses in advance before I can agree. We all agreed on around $500, which I thought was doable. Before getting there we paid for the hotel and ride around since we were drinking, which was $300. We split it to where the bride wouldn't pay for these, which I was fine with. Then when I arrived, we had our dinner planned and went to a fancy restaurant. I ordered the cheapest meal and then one of the girls took the bill and paid. Then following day I asked how much the tip was to pay my portion, and the girls responded to just spilt the check, and I said no, my meal was nothing compared to them. Then they expected us to pay for the bride for everything she's ordered the entire trip, while she was getting the most expensive meals and drinks/flights at places. Then said, why would you come here and not pay for everything for her? I understand paying for certain things for the bride, but I wasn't expecting to pay for her entire trip. Other bachelorettes I've been on didn't do that. However, if they would have told me in advance I could have planned. Everyone knew but me. I told the bride that the girls were rude and that I can't afford to stay and I'm uncomfortable. She said it was fine, she appreciated my time. Keep in mind I wasn't invited to the wedding because she couldn't afford it. Then uninvited me to the bridal shower and as a friend. Comments. Commenter 1, I'm sorry, you weren't invited to the wedding but you were invited to the bachelorette party? Someone's an here and it's not you. Reply, yes, she said it was small for only family, but then found out everyone there was going to the wedding but me. I still went to celebrate her. Commenter 2, NTA, been there, and honestly if the flight wasn't so expensive I would left early too. I'm disabled so I can't work as much as the other girls, and I also didn't realize that even though I bought her flight and her wedding gift, the other girls were expecting me to help pay for all her meals and her portion for Ubers as well. I never want to go to another bachelorette party. Reply, yes, I refuse to go on another Bach trip. Commenter 3, NTA, but the main part of this story I don't understand is why you would be invited to the bachelorette party but not be invited to the wedding. Irish here and we call it a hen party, but there's no way in hell anyone invited to a hen party wouldn't be on the guest list for the wedding. The two things go hand in hand. Is this normal where you're from? Commenter 4, wedding culture is out of control. I feel like you shouldn't get presents or have ceremonies until you've been married 10 years. That's commitment. Stories number 15. I accidentally caused a war between my family and my brother's wife's family with one innocent text message. So my brother's wedding happened 2 days ago. And it turned into a complete chaos, which I know even though I don't were there. You might wonder why I didn't attend the wedding if it's my brother's. Well, it's because of his wife's family. He did send me an invitation to the wedding because he wanted me there, but his fiancée told him I couldn't attend because I had a boyfriend. You might be confused. But I'm a man. A bisexual man to be exact, and I have a boyfriend who I wanted to bring to the wedding. She said even though she doesn't have a problem with that and he doesn't have a problem with that, her extremely religious parents who already forced her to do the wedding in a church would most likely banish us from the wedding and cause trouble between our families. After she told him that, my brother told me I couldn't attend and told me why. You might think I was angry. The truth is I was relieved. I hate going to big events with lots of people because of my social anxiety, and I already was used to not being able to attend certain events because of my sexuality, so it was nothing I haven't heard before. So at the day of the wedding I stayed at home with my boyfriend. It's worth mentioning my parents apparently didn't knew I wasn't attending the wedding. I was chillin' at home cuddling with my boyfriend when I suddenly got a text message from my parents asking me where I was because they couldn't find me at the wedding party. I told them I wasn't attending the wedding and if my brother hasn't told them anything. They said no and asked me what happened. I didn't saw any reason to lie, so I sent them a text message telling them exactly why. Now I have to admit I don't exactly know what happened after I sent them this message because they read it but didn't reply. And why do they care in the first place? They didn't notice I wasn't there before until the wedding was already over. They only noticed when the wedding party started, however. Apparently my parents talked to my brother about it and all of a sudden my absence was the main topic of the wedding party. From what I heard, two fronts formed. On the one hand my parents and the rest of my family against the family of my brother's wife, and apparently he as a husband now felt compelled to take her side and try to argue in her favor. It's crazy to think that I was just sitting at home living my best life with my boyfriend while all of that shit went down on his wedding. The wedding party was ruined and my brother appeared on my door angrily screaming at me why I felt the need to ruin his wedding. I was confused and asked him what happened and he told me everything. I told him it wasn't my intention. I just told our parents what happened because they didn't know and wanted to know where I was and I thought he told them beforehand. He screamed at me that I ruined his wedding. I told him it's not my fault, he wasn't honest with them. I just respected their wish to not attend the wedding. I couldn't know it would go down like this because like I said I couldn't attend several events before because of my sexuality and my parents never said anything about it, so I thought it would be the same thing here. But I gotta admit it's kinda sweet that my parents and the rest of my family stood up for me. They haven't done it before. That's a more than welcome change. But I still feel kinda bad because apparently I really ruined the wedding party. Update 1. Didn't thought I'd give an update but many interesting things happened. So after my brother's visit his wife and him went to honeymoon. And the way the wedding party went might have been even worse than I imagined. What happens now is incredible. When I said in the main post that two fronts had formed, I only meant that metaphorically, of course, but it's no longer that. While nothing much interesting happened in the first 2 days afterwards, the terror started as soon as my brother and his wife went on their honeymoon. My mom and my dad visited me and told me how the wedding party escalated and they were so close to physical violence. I thought it was funny at first but this truly bothers me. I also want to point that you did a great job at convincing me it's not my fault, but hearing my parents' side still gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. However, like I said, the terror started shortly after they went to their honeymoon. And when I say terror I mean that my Asiel's family found both my Facebook and Instagram account and started spamming me with hateful messages. I received insults and hateful messages from various different accounts who all had one thing in common. They all had somewhat of a Christian theme and all of them had the same last name. So it wasn't hard to find out whose accounts it was. Mainly because I don't know my Asiel's family at all. I only know her and I know her parents were homophobic Christians, but whatever. They not only started attacking me, they also found the account of my boyfriend over my account because we're linked as a couple and started to send him the same messages. The messages contained on one side typical bigot stuff like, "You're burning in hell for your sins." One even called me and my boyfriend two devils in disguise. The other side were just blatant insults. You get the idea. I called my parents and told them what they are doing. Then I sent a text message to my brother with screenshots of the messages his wife's family sent me, to which he replied that I shouldn't disturb him with that during his honeymoon as I already destroyed his wedding party. I couldn't believe it. He was just like them. He did send me an apology after my mom told me she called him. But none of this is the main reason I'm giving you this update this early, because I got a call this morning from an unknown number. I hesitated because I thought it was one of them. And I was right, but it was none of the people who insulted me. I heard a woman's voice who introduced herself as the half-sister of my brother's wife. She said it didn't went unnoticed what her family was doing and she wanted to apologize for them. I told her I'm not going to tell anyone in her family about this and that I don't blame her for her family's actions. She thanked me and hung up. I don't know why, but I have this feeling she only did this to protect her family from being reported. My mother wrote to me earlier that she wants to report the insults and the harassment of these people and that she demands for my brother to divorce his wife or she will disinherit him from her will because that's not how she raised him. A little radical in my opinion, but I understand where she's coming from. This entire thing escalated so much it's unbelievable. Thank y'all for your support on my first post. Why am I so casual about this entire situation? Some of you were wondering why I seem so calm and casual in the update when I'm discriminated against. The truth is that I am in a relationship with my boyfriend for 3 years now and the things that happen now are nothing compared to what I've been through. I receive hateful messages almost daily. Not only from their accounts but in general. And I learned to ignore that. There have been way worse situations. Such as when my boyfriend went to visit his family and I couldn't go with him. We kissed each other goodbye on the train station, and when the train left and no one saw it, a group of guys attacked me. I was sent to hospital because of severe injuries. Just to give you an idea what I had to deal with in the past. And don't get me wrong, we will report my SIL's family, but what they are doing is nothing I haven't seen 1,000 times before. Update 2. It's been a few days. First of all, me and my boyfriend are fine. Luckily for us, they didn't go any further than their text messages. My mom filed a report against them. I don't know the current situation about that as I haven't filed the report myself. The reason I update you is a different one. First of all, one person in my SIL's family is actually going to testify in my favor and against her family. It really takes courage to do so. It's the same person that called me in the last update. Somehow they found out that she is into women. No reason to hide it anymore. However, she said she's fine and is going to stay at a friend's house. I have so much respect for what she does. Imagine the strength you need to testify against your own family. I now feel bad for assuming she only called me to save her family from being reported. More importantly, what is the current situation with my brother? Well, my mom talked to him and told him to leave his wife or she will disinherit him from her will. He decided to stay with his wife and my mom made her threat come true. He's no longer in her will. My father did the same. When I visited them, I also told them that I wish that this entire situation went different. They assured me it's not my fault, but I feel like if it wasn't for me then my family wouldn't be ripped apart like this. Haven't talked to my brother since then. My boyfriend feels similar. He also told me he kind of feels responsible for all this chaos. I assured him it's not his fault. But honestly, I wasn't even sure if I could say this in my position. On the other hand, it was my SIL's family's bigotry that ruined everything, and everything would have been fine if I could have just attended. But now it's time for me to grow distant to this situation. We see what the report will do. I followed your advice to document everything. The insulting and harassing messages continued until 2 days ago. So I have much to say about them. Unfortunately, homophobia is still very much normalized in our society. I already said it in a post in my profile, but the reason I'm so calm and casual about the situation is the simple fact that I'm used to situations like this. They don't get to me anymore. If I let any insult get to me, I wouldn't make it for a long time. It's a coping mechanism. I've been into situations where I was sent into hospital because I kissed my boyfriend in public. So insults and harassment like theirs is nothing I haven't seen before. Update 3. I think some of y'all are waiting for an update, so here I am. Keep in mind that this update will probably be the last one. So last time I told you my mother was pressing charges against them, and to my surprise we won. They weren't going to jail or anything, but they had to pay for their actions. Literally. There was one incident where my SIL dad was actually trying to find out where I lived and asked my brother, who told him. Only God knows what he would have done to us if we still had lived there. But in the time span of the last 2 months, me and my boyfriend moved to a different place which my brother didn't know anything of. Also, their social media accounts were deleted. However, I don't know if this was part of their punishment or if they did it themselves. My mom has also carried out the threat towards my brother and disinherited him from her will. After he came back from his honeymoon, he begged her to put him in again. She said only if he apologized to me. She invited me and my boyfriend over, and my brother sat in the living room with this mad look on his face. She made him apologize, but I didn't accept this apology because I could tell it wasn't sincere. He did it because he had to and not because he was actually sorry. I told my brother that I am disappointed in him for who he became. Before that we had this huge bond, usually never judged each other for stuff like this, and all of a sudden he has such a problem with me having a boyfriend. I just don't get it. I told him that I missed the old him. He didn't respond to anything. He just sat there quietly staring at the bottom. After I finished, he just got up and left. This was the last time I spoke with him, and it's already been a few weeks since this happened. My parents paid much more attention to the discrimination I face since this incident. They wanted to learn more about the problems I face as a queer person. I really love them. My dad even got a bisexual pride flag for me and asked if he could hang it in our bedroom. I love that I have such great parents. I just wished for my brother to become the person he once was. By the way, since the case with my SIL's family is over, I didn't heard anything about their lesbian daughter. She supported us during the process, but we lost contact afterwards, and I just hope she's fine. Update 4. The final update of my story happened 6 months ago, and I figured some of you might be interested in how things currently doing. So I'm back, at least for this post right now. There have been some things that happened. First of all, I want to give you an update about the sister of my brother's wife. Around 2 months after my update she texted us and asked if she could come over. We talked a while and I was relieved to find out that she is fine. She said that she moved in with her girlfriend when the case was over. Simply because her parents and the rest of her family had disowned her and threatened her with physical violence if she dares to return. However, the relationship with her girlfriend ended after a while and she asked us if she could stay for a few days until she found something. She stayed with us for 2 weeks. During that time my parents had visited us and offered her to stay with them because they had a big house with some free space. She stays there currently because she wanted to study and my parents had no problem with letting her stay a little longer. Me and my boyfriend also support her financially a little bit. We included her into several different celebrations such as Christmas and New Year's Eve and I feel like she is like the sister I never had. What's probably more interesting for you is how my brother is currently doing. The truth is, I don't know exactly. We haven't talked since the apology. However, he actually tried to attend our Christmas celebration party but the moment he appeared my dad kicked him out and said that, and I quote, "This homophobic rubbish is no longer allowed in my house." I love him. OBTW of course both went through with disowning him. My boyfriend and I are still together and I feel like he might be the one I want to marry. This entire situation made our bond so much stronger. I plan on proposing to him but there are so many ideas floating around in my head for the proposal that I can't really decide which one. Also the social media accounts of my SIL's family had disappeared entirely. All of them, but I assume they already made new ones under a new name. I'm just glad all of this is finally over. I don't have any compassion left for my brother. I just wish he had never developed this way. Everything that happened to him he brought it on himself. If you guys want I can update you when I'm engaged. Thanks for reading. Wish you all the best. I proposed and he said yes. Do you remember when I told you in my last update 2 months ago that I will propose to my boyfriend? Well, I did it today. I brought up so many ideas that it was really hard to decide, so I gave him some subtle hints. Not too obvious. Just enough to see how he reacts and then decide based on his reaction. In the end I made a photo album of us featuring the most important events in our relationship. Each of them had a thought of mine in a caption below them. Some of them were meaningful but some of them were just random. Like one photo of us eating at his favorite restaurant at his birthday and the caption just says something like, "Damn, that pizza was good." That made him laugh. We walked to his favorite spot in town, which is a wonderful lake. That is where I gave him the album and told him it's a present and to look through it. He was focused and didn't notice what I was doing behind him as I just told him I was getting something I forgot. I positioned myself behind him and that is when the last page came into play. That page had a photo of me holding the ring in the same way I positioned myself behind him looking straight at the camera. And the caption says, "Hopefully he says yes." He turned around in disbelief and started crying almost immediately when he saw me. I couldn't even finish the question and he already said yes. It was exactly how I hoped it would go. I always dreamt of making my proposal like out of a romance novel and I was successful. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna marry him. I already told my entire family except for my brother of course. They were so happy about it, especially my mom and new sister shrieked out of excitement on the phone. I assume my brother knows anyway considering I shared it on Facebook. You guys probably aren't wrong that he might plan something, but if he does it won't stop us. Do you guys want me to update you when I'm married to tell you about the wedding and everything? My boyfriend and I will have a rather unconventional wedding, April 21st, 2024, 1 week later. I just have to tell you guys this. We're currently planning our wedding and instead of a regular wedding dance we decided we want to have a lightsaber battle against each other. Of course it's not just a random lightsaber battle. It's like a choreography that we have to learn. We're both huge Star Wars fans. My dad, who also loves Star Wars, said he wants to join and he had an idea how to do that. He said to add like a story to it that he wants to have a lightsaber battle against my fiancé where my fiancé has to fight for the right to marry me, where my dad would eventually lose and then I would step in to test my fiancé's strength myself and there would be a lightsaber battle between us and then I'd acknowledge his force as worthy enough. I know some might think it's childish but I'm so excited for it. Our wedding will be a day for people to remember. Hey there, haven't talked to you for about 2 months. That is because me and my boyfriend are fully invested into planning the wedding. We have a date for it. It's gonna be next year. Still, I have so many followers on this account and I kinda wanna include you into my journey. My sister is currently helping. I don't know if I should mention it here, but my mother recently called me to tell me that my brother apparently got divorced. I have no idea what's going on with him though. Not like I care much, but I guess for some of you it's probably interesting. I'm sorry but too much happened and I really don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. But enough about me. How are you guys currently doing? Guys, the wedding was yesterday but something happened, February 23rd, 2025, 8 months later. I remember how you guys told me my brother might plan something. He did. I'm still in shock. I'll post an update soon. But for now I have to calm myself down a little. I'm glad for my husband comforting me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, congratulations on the wedding and I'm sorry he fucked up your wedding. Did you have the lightsaber battle? That sounded awesome. Commenter 2, I'm happy y'all got to have your wedding. Sucks he was a butt, but I hope it didn't overshadow an amazing day with your beloved. Reply, unfortunately it did. He wasn't just a butt, unfortunately. New update, I accidentally caused a war between my family and my brother's wife's family with one innocent text message. So the last time I actively posted an update was about a year ago. If you haven't followed my account in the meantime, I'll briefly summarize what happened. I got engaged shortly after the update and now a year later we're married. I'll be honest. I'm still shaken up. I wouldn't update on this subreddit if something significant hadn't happened. It's amazing that many of my followers have already warned me that my brother might be planning something, but I never would have thought that it could be so evil. The wedding took place a few days ago. We cancelled our honeymoon for now until we settled things because right now we wouldn't enjoy it. While we were sitting at the table, eating and talking with our parents about the future, one of the security guards, yes we did hire some as one you suggested we had hired, approached me and informed me that someone outside was begging for admission. When I asked who, the guard hesitated briefly and informed me that it was my brother. I told the guard that I would go with him to resolve the situation, but my father, who overheard the conversation, told me to stay put because it was my day and I shouldn't have to deal with it. A little later, shouting was heard from outside. My mother asked me to stay seated. She would go see what was going on, and when she came back, her face pale as chalk, she told me that my brother and my father were shouting at each other outside. My brother demanded to be let in and my father told him to f***ck off. At some point, my brother left and my father tried to calm down, but you could still see the veins in his neck with anger. He explained what had happened. We thought that would be the end of it, but no, it was going to get worse. Much worse, in fact. My brother had somehow managed to get past the security guards. When I noticed him, he was approaching with frantic steps and my father tackled him to the ground. The music in the room stopped and all eyes were on us. I called the security guards. My father was on top of him, shouting. My mother covered her mouth in shock. My now husband stood protectively in front of me. The security guards escorted him outside and called the police. Why? Because they had noticed that he had a pocket knife, which he dropped when my father tackled him to the ground. I didn't say that he had tried to attack me with it, but I assumed that that was what would have happened. He was arrested for attempted assault. He kept looking at me. He was no longer recognizable. His eyes were full of anger and hatred. The party was ruined. The police asked all the witnesses for statements and then sent all the guests home. We currently have to settle some stuff with the police and decided to take our honeymoon later because right now we are not in the state to enjoy it with everything that happened. Anyway, after everything, I'm not only disappointed in what my brother became. I'm straight up terrified. I'm trying to tell myself that he didn't actually try to end me. But how exactly do you deal with a situation like this? Me and my husband are trying to get past this and he is so sweet, but I can tell it affected him too. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you guys because some of you predicted something like this and advised me to hire security guards, but I really underestimated it. I have to take a break for now. Thanks for reading. New update. Hey there guys, so it's been a long 5 months since I updated the last time. Just know that I'm fine. What happened at the wedding was terrifying and something I need therapy for. I'm currently in therapy and so is my husband. We postponed our honeymoon to about 3 weeks later. Everything went well. We testified against my brother. My father filed a lawsuit against him. He was sentenced to prison for several years for attempted murder. It's scary how my brother looked like an empty shell when the judge spoke out the sentence. He wasn't looking at us. Just staring at the wall with this empty look and absolutely no reaction to the sentence. He now is nothing more than a shell of what he once was. Despite everything that happened, he is still my brother, and I can't help but feel bad for him. I feel like I should have approached him a bit more. I just want to heal. One person can only take so much. This whole story will finally come to an end. I think I leave this Reddit account for good. Not deleting it. Just no longer post. This entire story has stayed with me for the last 2 years. Things went downhill so rapidly that I need time to properly process everything. I want to thank all of you for your support and that you stayed till now. I wish y'all the best. Stories number 16. My toddler's oxygen dropped to 86% in her sleep and we were told to wait it out. We didn't wait and it may have saved her life. Trust your gut, mamas. Just wanted to share what we went through this week in case it helps another parent trust their gut. My 20-month-old daughter had been sick with what looked like a typical viral infection, fever, runny nose, fatigue. Her doctor suspected a virus and said to monitor her. But something felt off. She was sweating heavily in her sleep, her heart rate was spiking up to 180 plus while resting, and she just seemed off. Lethargic, not herself. We were using a pulse ox monitor at home outlet and noticed her oxygen kept dipping to 90, sometimes as low as 86, then rebounding to 91-92. It would happen mostly during sleep. I kept putting all of this into ChatGPT and it kept coming back with this as an emergency, exactly what my brain was telling me despite her doctor saying otherwise. And, as weird as this is, our tiny dog who loves our toddler but doesn't like her if that makes any sense, was pawing at her crib shaking as she laid there motionless. That's what pushed us to urgent care. At urgent care, they heard a strange clicking in her breathing and did a neck x-ray. They thought it might be swelling near the epiglottis and transferred us to the ER immediately. In the ER, they initially treated it as croup, but her oxygen kept dipping in her sleep, even without obvious distress. Eventually she was admitted, and her O2 hovered around 88 to 92% even on oxygen. ENT ruled out epiglottitis, thank God, but it was clear her airway was inflamed. She tested positive for human metapneumovirus HMPV, a nasty virus similar to RSV. Doctors ultimately diagnosed her with croup caused by HMPV, and her airway was so inflamed it was compromising her oxygen during sleep. It took nearly a full day in the hospital, steroids, monitoring, and finally oxygen support before she stabilized above 95% on her own. We're home now. She's resting and recovering, and she's going to be okay. If I had listened to the just wait it out advice, I don't know where we'd be. The O2 dips weren't obvious, she wasn't gasping or turning blue. Just sleeping, and quietly not getting enough air. So if your gut is telling you something's wrong, especially if your kid seems off while sick, listen to it. You're not overreacting. I had to advocate hard for care at multiple points, and I'm glad I did. Edit, forgot to mention, her heart rate was skyrocketing in the 160s to 180s when she was in deep sleep as her O2 levels were in flux. Comments. Commenter 1. Since this has happened once, keep an eye on it in the future. My son is DX asthmatic, with no family history of it. Every time it gets bad, it's because he's getting over a respiratory infection. First time in the hospital was at age 4-ish. He now takes a daily maintenance med and hasn't had a severe attack in 18 months. NAD, but anything under 92% SpO2 is typically ER territory, according to the folks at my children's hospital. Other major red flags are the child not wanting to speak, retraction skin on the belly/ribs looking sucked in with each breath, and the lethargy you mentioned. Reply, 100% we already knew she has enlarged tonsils and would probably need them out at some point, but this pushed them to get her scheduled for surgery next month. They absolutely contributed to the problem. Our doctor said to wait because it would dip and then rebound, and because she was sick, that was normal unless she had all the other things you listed, which she didn't. Sometimes you just know. Commenter 2. If your doctor actually told you to not go to the ER for 90% SpO2, please get a new doctor. That is borderline malpractice in my book. Commenter 3. I know the owlet isn't to be used as a medical device, but I had a similar situation with my son. He was sick and his oxygen dipped. Oddly, the device didn't go off, but I just checked periodically while he was sleeping. We took him to the ER and they kept giving us shit about using the owlet. But my gut said something was off. Sure enough, he had RSV and his oxygen was low. Commenter 4. Yeah, you shouldn't make medical diagnoses based on owlet data, but if it's consistently reading high HR and low ox, you can use it as a sign that it's time for the ER/urgent care. It's not like it's snake oil. Update. A couple months ago I posted about my daughter's oxygen dipping into the 80s while she was asleep. She had HMPV at the time and the ER treated it as croup, but nothing ever fully explained why her oxygen kept crashing when she looked totally calm. We got sent home with the usual monitor and wait, but I never fully let it go. Last week she had a scheduled tonsillectomy and adenoidectomy for ongoing sleep disordered breathing, congestion, and constant snoring. During surgery, her ENT scoped her airway and found 3 major things. Severe laryngomalacia, the tissue above her vocal cords was collapsing into her airway. Moderate tracheomalacia, her windpipe is weak and soft, making it prone to collapse. Tonsils 4+, adenoids blocking 90% of her airway. The surgeon told us her tonsils were some of the biggest they'd ever seen in a child her size. They also performed a supraglottoplasty during the surgery, a procedure that trims the floppy tissue above the vocal cords to open the airway and prevent it from collapsing during breathing. It's the standard fix for laryngomalacia, done entirely through the mouth with no external cuts. Small procedure, huge difference. All of this was congenital. She was born with it. And suddenly everything makes sense. She's always been a noisy breather, even as a newborn. We were told it was normal. She didn't turn blue or gasp, so no one thought much of it. But one night her owlet gave us a red alert. Oxygen was below 80. She was completely still. We woke her up, she cried, and the numbers came back up. Her pediatrician dismissed it as a fluke. Now I really don't think it was. We used the snoo. We followed every safe sleep recommendation. We were textbook. And I still can't stop thinking how close we might have come to something much worse, without ever knowing. Laryngomalacia and tracheomalacia aren't direct causes of SIDS, but they are significant airway vulnerabilities. Add in massive tonsils, a virus, and deep sleep. The risk was real. We were discharged after just one night, and she's already breathing quieter and has more energy. But I can't stop thinking about the 22 months that passed before we knew. All that time she was working harder to breathe than we realized. And if something had happened in her sleep, we would have just never known why. We feel incredibly lucky we caught this before something tragic happened. That one scope during surgery gave us the answers we didn't even know to keep looking for. So if your baby is a noisy breather, if something doesn't sit right, if your gut says keep pushing, do it. Ask for the ENT referral. Ask for the scope. You don't need dramatic symptoms to justify concern. TLDR, after months of breathing issues and a scary ER visit, surgery revealed our toddler's tonsils were 4+ huge and her windpipe was collapsing from laryngomalacia and tracheomalacia. She had a supraglottoplasty and is already breathing better. We got to go home after one night and feel so lucky we caught it before something worse happened. Comments. Commenter 1. Thank you for this post. It is so well written and to the point. I am so glad your child is doing better after surgery. I am so relieved they were able to find the cause for her breathing issues. And most importantly, I am so thankful she is still here with you today, safe and sound. Instead of going back to the last 22 months and thinking what if, start to focus on the future and all the things she will be able to accomplish. What if she decides to be an athlete? What if she decides to be a musician? What if she has more opportunities to find things she loves because she can breathe better? Again, so happy y'all got your answers. Hopefully your post is able to help other parents wondering the same thing. And BTW, my son now 4 got his adenoids removed last year and his quality of life also improved. Thank God for science and wonderful doctors. Reply, thank you. It can be hard to condense, but I'm glad my attempt worked. Yes, you are right. She's always loved the physical and she has a few professional musicians in her family, so maybe she can pull off both someday. Commenter 2. That's so scary. I'm glad they found a reason. I couldn't imagine being told to just be okay with a pulse ox of 86. We put people on oxygen at 90% LOL. Crazy. Both my sons had mild tracheomalacia too, but have grown out of it thankfully. Reply, I think it was because it would dip down and then rebound. But eventually it wouldn't rebound as much, which made us take her in, despite what her pediatrician said. Stories number 17. My 27M fiancé and I 25F just broke up. Suddenly he can do chores and spend money on household supplies. As the title reads, I just broke up with my fiancé, my partner of 7 years. One of the major problems in our relationship was that he didn't contribute to the household. This being he didn't help with chores often, in his words, because he worked so much, and he didn't spend money on supplies for the house: new vacuum, toilet paper, trash bags. However, after having broken up last week, he has miraculously resolved these issues with himself. Now he washes all of his dishes, he bought himself a ton of bathroom items, a new vacuum just for him. Ours is old and rickety but gets the job done. Now I get that he is buying these items because he is going to move out possibly and he doesn't want to share items. It's just very anger-inducing because I'm wondering where all this effort and money came from. He couldn't have helped me buy things and do chores before, but now that we're done he can. My question is, how do I not flip the hell out that he's so selfish and manipulative? Comments. Commenter 1. Let him go. He sounds very annoying. Commenter 2. He's unintentionally showing that he could have done it but chose not to. It shows that he was a dirtbag taking advantage of you for the last few years. Commenter 3. He showed you exactly how little he cares about you. I can't think of anyone who wouldn't be angry in your situation, but I would recommend not doing or saying anything. Just gray rock him. That would bother him a lot more than doing or saying anything to him, and he doesn't deserve your time or emotions anyway. Think about how, in a short while, you'll be free of this selfish, manipulative asshole, and think about how good it'll feel. Don't do anything that could put that future at jeopardy. Stay strong, I believe in you. Commenter 4. He's someone else's problem now, is how you don't flip out. Just keep reminding yourself of that, not your circus, not your monkey, he's not gonna manipulate you another damn day. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my heavily pregnant friend her fiancé was in a documentary. Okay, it's currently 4 a.m. and I feel so guilty right now I can't sleep. Okay, so myself and a few girlfriends decided to watch a documentary that's been trending. Not gonna lie, I was expecting a documentary showing a human side of certain person, but, yeah, as anyone who has watched the documentary knows what it was. On to the issue. My friend's fiancé was one of the 1,000. I wasn't the first person to notice. 2 other friends were first to notice. I didn't believe it at first, but with a second watch it was definitely him now, even though his face was covered. The body shape and especially the tattoos were undeniable. We debated till the early hours of the morning if we should tell her or wait because she's 8 months pregnant, but if someone cheats like that it's not their first time and I rather lose her friendship for telling straight away than her finding out I knew hid it, because let's be real, when you tell someone news like that there's a huge chance they'll hate you, not the cheater. So this Sunday morning I asked my friend to meet up to talk. I showed her the evidence and the minute she looked at the picture she knew it was him and broke down. I expected her to be angry at me, but she thanked me for being honest, as multiple people have hinted that she should watch the documentary instead of being upfront like I was. I ended driving her to her mom's house. I'm guessing she told her fiancé. I told her because he has been blowing up my phone, calling me a evil little homewrecker who ruined not only his life and calling me out on social media for trying ruin his relationship and wanting his unborn daughter to grow up without a dad. My friends are angry with me for telling her straight away and not waiting till she had the baby in case the stress would cause issues to her health. I don't give 2 shits if I'm being honest about her fiancé, but I feel so bad for putting my friend in this situation while heavily pregnant, and I'm worried if something does happen to her it will be my fault, like maybe she would have watched it herself and found out on her own. Aita for telling my pregnant friend her fiancé was in a documentary. Edit. The name of the documentary is in the comments with more info. I'm extremely tired and my mental health isn't too well right now, so I just can't be bothered to fix the post. The only update. My friend's fiancé wasn't the only one of our partners to do the lineup. My boyfriend of 3 years was one, so was another friend's husband. 2 hours ago he posted screenshots, a group chat and photographic receipts no one could deny. Other men in relationships are involved, he said in the caption. I wasn't the only one there. Tags me, maybe check your own man before coming for my relationship. Tags 5 other women. I'm not taking the blame alone and being seen as the bad guy, while tags the men did the same. There was a lot more said, but I stopped reading and just deleted my social media account, then blocked my now ex. I don't want to hear his explanation. I feel so humiliated and physically sick. I don't know how I'm gonna face the coworkers or clients at work tomorrow. I wish I could just disappear. My phone is going crazy, so I'm going to turn it off, go for a long shower, then see can I get any sleep for what I'm sure will be a hell tomorrow. Comments. Commenter 1. Just to be clear, since the OP wasn't, the dude was in a porn video banging a random chick with 999 other guys. Apparently while already with his fiancée. I'm pretty sure this is cut and dry. LOL. Reply. Edit. People were saying I was very vague in the post, but I didn't know what saying the name of the documentary against the rules, and I don't want to give too much information away for my friend's sake. I'll edit the post later when I've gotten some sleep and my anxiety isn't as bad. He was part of the 1000 Bonnie Blue lineup in January. They got engaged on Christmas Day and my friend would have found out around January she was pregnant. She didn't tell us till she was 3 months pregnant. Reply. Commenter 1. Yeah, you absolutely needed to tell your friend. I have a hard time believing this is the only time he's been unfaithful too. Not many guys decide to cheat for the first time by doing porn. Reply. I really hope he was decent enough to be careful for my friend's sake. Commenter 2. Let's be real, what matters is how your friend feels. You told her right away and she was thankful. She took action right away. Does that sound like the kind of person who would want you to keep that secret from her? Nta. Reply. It's early days yet though, she could stay with him and this could all turn on me. I'm a hairdresser. I've had women come in telling me they're getting divorced, giving very valid reasons why they're doing it, then maybe 4 weeks later they'll come in praising their partner. There's always a chance with situations like this the victim will put their hate on the wrong person. Commenter 3. So apparently many people in her circle have seen this and recognized the jerk. All keeping silent and maybe hinting she watch. How would her watching and suddenly seeing her baby's father be part of this disgusting freak show have been less stressful? You are NTA. You had the courage to tell her what so many others were whispering behind her back. It's true that like many others she may decide to stay. Even if that happens and she pulls away from you, you still did the right thing. Stories number 19. My friend ate my leftovers then got mad when I asked for money to replace them. Last week I made a big batch of homemade pasta and saved the leftovers in the fridge. I even labeled the container with my name so it was clear it was mine. I was looking forward to having it for lunch a few days later, but when I opened the fridge, the container was completely empty. I asked my friend if she had eaten it, and she admitted she did without asking me first. When I told her I was disappointed and asked if she could at least pay me back or buy me new food, she acted like I was being unreasonable. She shrugged and said, "I was hungry, and you never eat leftovers anyway." I explained that just because I don't always eat my leftovers right away doesn't mean she gets to take them without permission. She got defensive and accused me of being too dramatic and controlling. I'm not asking for much, just basic respect for other people's belongings, especially when it comes to food. But apparently, that's a lot to expect from some people. Comments. Commenter 1. Say how much you are looking forward to her next leftovers. She should be sure and put her name on them, so you know they are communal property. Reply. Yep. What's hers is mine now. Commenter 2. Wait. So she ate it and left empty container in the fridge? Not even gonna wash it? Reply. Yup, she FR needs to clean up her mess. Commenter 3. Insane to me that people like this exist. I would have a panic attack if I stole someone's food. Friend should at minimum buy you lunch, and never do that shit again. Reply. I know, right? Could have at least bought me something small, I would have still taken it. Stories number 20. Aita for reporting a delivery driver who I thought was lying to get out of doing more work. So today for lunch I decided to order from a Mexican restaurant through one of those food delivery services. I've had a bad experience or two where my order was missing some items, but the drivers would always be gone before I realized and could catch them to fix the issue. I'd always have to report it through the app support chat, which is such a pain to use because they obviously outsource their representatives and it's frustrating trying to communicate with them. I usually give up after a few messages back and forth. When my driver arrived, I told her to stay so that I could check the bag and make sure everything was there. I noticed she kind of raised her eyebrow for a moment, but otherwise she stood quietly and waited. Sure enough, a couple things were missing. I politely said she needed to return to the restaurant and get my missing items. In a very neutral, rehearsed-sounding tone, she said that it's against company policy to do that and I should contact support through the app. I explained that I preferred not to deal with support. She said they're the only ones who can help and she's really not supposed to go back to the restaurant. I was a bit annoyed at this point, so I asked what the company policy was on making sure orders were correct. She said that restaurants close the bags for the drivers and they're not meant to open them or the containers inside. Something about food safety violations and not being trained. After a moment she apologized for the trouble and left. To me this honestly just sounds like a bunch of BS excuses to get out of doing her whole job. If they can't go back to the restaurant, how are customers supposed to get their food/money back? If they can't open bags to check the orders, how do they even know they're delivering the right food? It makes no sense to me. So on the page where I rate my driver and can leave feedback, I made a note of my situation and explained why I thought she was in the wrong. I then left 1 star and revoked my tip. A bit later I was talking to my sister over the phone, who I thought would enjoy the story because she works for a different but similar delivery company. My sister said, "Did you actually think she was gonna go back to the restaurant?" I laughed, thinking she was taking a dig at a competing company's drivers, but she just said, "I'm not joking, you literally reported her for following the rules." At first I thought my sister had misunderstood a part of the story or something, so I kind of brushed it off, but now based on her reaction and what both her and the driver said, I'm wondering if they're right. Aita for reporting her and taking my tip back because I thought she was lying. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. YTA, their job is to get the package from one place to the other, the restaurant's job is to send the correct order. You are punishing her for something out of her control and should instead contact or rate the restaurant for the error. Reply. I guess I just don't understand how it's out of her control. She didn't do her job by not delivering me my complete order. Should she not be taking some sort of steps to make sure it's all there? Commenter 2. YTA. She followed the rules and did her job. And BTW, it would be super wrong and not safe for a driver to open bags and containers with food they are delivering. Food Safety Rules, FFS. Geez. Reply. As far as I understand it, the driver is a stand-in for me at the restaurant. When they are picking up food and they are picking it up on my behalf. If I'm paying extra money to have food picked up on my behalf, I would expect them to check the order and make sure it's right the same way I would. They are there and I am not, so I pay them to do it for me. Commenter 3. YTA. Did you expect her to unwrap your burrito and make sure it had cheese on it too? The driver was correct and to revoke your tip was an move. Reply. I would at least expect her to ask the employee if the burrito was in the bag and had cheese on it. Is that too hard? Commenter 4. It's not her job. Her job is to collect your order and bring it to you. Which is what she did. Commenter 5. YTA, she explained it kindly and calmly, and you were a jerk about it. She was not lying, and you're an asshole for thinking she was and even more for the review you left. Contact support through the app like everyone else, chances are your meal will be free. Then remove your review and apologize. Reply. See, I thought she was lying because she was so calm. It sounded like she had the answer rehearsed and ready for anyone who had a complaint. Commenter 6. Maybe she had it rehearsed because that's how they train people for situations exactly like this. She probably has it memorized word for word because of how often she has to tell Karens like you to complain to customer support via the app instead of blaming the driver. It's not her job to get your order right, it's her job to deliver it on time. The delivery driver found the post and replied, "Here same day. Oh my, is the world really this small?" This could be a total coincidence and I guess I have no real way to confirm either way, but I had a very similar conversation with a customer today over a missing burrito and side of cheese dip. Even if you're not the person I talked to, I'm off the clock now so I have some more words for you and people like you. First off, it's so annoying when people say, "Oh hold on a second, just want to make sure it's all here," laughing face. Right then I know I might be about to waste time having this exact conversation. Yes, it's scripted because it happens all the time and it's easier to be prepared. Second off, I cannot return to the restaurant. If I don't mark your order as delivered in a given amount of time, I start getting calls from dispatch. If I mark your order as delivered then go back to the restaurant, I've lost your order info because the system thinks I don't need it anymore. And usually I have another order waiting to be sent to me after yours, so I have to move on to that one. Third off, stop and think about it. Do you want a person you don't know opening your food containers with their hands that have been touching a steering wheel, dozens of door handles and doorbells, cash tips from questionable places, and that haven't been washed all day because they've been in a car? It's nasty and not sanitary. I try to verify with restaurants but most of the time they're practically shoving me out the door. So, sorry. Fourth off, I spend literally all day delivering food to people just to make money. With one of my companies I have no choice but to deliver orders I'm given so I can't be lazy. With the rest, I still can't be lazy because if I am that means less money. You know nothing about this industry. I couldn't say this before but I could say it now. YTA. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm real sorry you had to deal with her. Driver. It happens sometimes. Commenter 2. In ELI 5 terms, OP is reporting a UPS driver to UPS for getting their Amazon order wrong and not personally going back to Amazon's warehouse to get the right items. Not only is the driver not supposed to / not allowed to inspect the contexts of the package, but they are not responsible for them. OP came here to rant and was hoping they could start a circle jerk of validation. I mean, they even told their sister and their sister essentially confirmed that they're in the wrong. Yet here they are, still posting, secretly hoping that the majority of people will back them up. Take a look at their profile and read their comments. They even used a throwaway. The driver added in the comments, "I did everything in my power." When a restaurant hands me a Tide bag with tamper stickers on it, that power is limited to asking, "Is everything here?" Half the time the person who hands the bag to me isn't the person who bagged it. Then it's an unreliable confirmation. BC they don't know either and also can't check. Stories number 21. Aita for not allowing my ex's husband around my kids in order for my kids to know their half-siblings. I have two kids 11F and 9M with my ex Jody. We never married but we were together a long time from ages 14 to 28 and we were together until our son was a month old. She left me one day without a word and was gone for over a month, leaving the kids with me. Her parents were the people who let me know she was safe but she didn't want to talk to me. Then she reached out and told me she was over our relationship and she wanted to know if I would let her have sole custody of the kids. I said no and for a few months she was very inconsistent about seeing them. I filed for physical custody of the kids, one temporarily, but by the time we got our formal court date she had become more consistent and custody was changed to share physical custody but I retained legal custody. Jody went on to marry Davis and he was an ass. He told me he wanted to raise the kids with Jody and for me to sign away my rights to him. He'd show up at exchanges with Jody and call himself dad or daddy to the kids. Then he'd try to start something, but I always kept it calm and moved along quickly for the kids' sake. Davis really tried to paint himself as the better choice, and he tried to engage in parental alienation, but the kids had a stronger relationship with me than their mom or him, so he failed. When the kids were 6 and 4, Jody drove drunk with them in the car and was not only arrested but lost custody. She served a few months and was released and allowed supervised visits with the kids. Those ended after 6 no-shows, and then she showed up carrying an illegal gun that she had started carrying around everywhere and finally got caught because of this. All supervised visits were ended, and at this point I had full physical and legal custody. During the no-shows, Davis tried to take Jody's place at the visits, but he was denied. Jody has contacted me via email twice in the last 18 months. First time was to tell me she was pregnant, and the second time was telling me she had given birth. Not long after, someone else told me Jody was pregnant again. In June, Davis emailed me and asked me to allow him to bring his child over to see the kids. He said the kids all deserve to know each other and become siblings in more than just biology. He told me Jody wouldn't come anywhere near them, it would be all him, and he would do the same when the next baby arrives. I debated answering, but I wasn't obligated to reply, so I didn't, but he followed up with 3 more emails over the next month. Then he sent a follow-up one within minutes saying I needed to think of the kids, and I can hate him all I like, but he loved my kids and wanted to be a good dad to them. I find it all BS, and I don't trust him, and I don't want anything to do with the children he and Jody have, because that carries risks given the history with both of them, even though his is less of a physical risk. So I replied and told him I would not allow this, and he needed to stop requesting it because I would never trust him around my children. He sent a follow-up email and another right after again where he repeated a lot of the same arguments and told me I had no good reason. Then he sent several photos of his child and asked me why I was denying his baby and our kids the chance to grow up close to each other. My only hesitation is the other children, but I still feel it's too great a risk. My kids know their mom had another baby, but they don't care. Even their therapist says they're doing good and it's not essential to allow this when the kids don't want it. But does it make me TA if I don't? Comments. Commenter 1. Nta. Trust your gut. Get a restraining order and cameras around the house if you can. Reply. A restraining order isn't possible, and I did speak to a few attorneys on this. I do have cameras around my home and car for extra security given the erratic way Jody has behaved, and even Davis has given me reason to pause. Commenter 2. Other than drinking and illegal weapons, does the ex have a drug problem or anything? Because one of the things you can tell a judge is that she is on drugs, she has driven drunk with the kids, she has a fondness for weapons, and I am afraid for my life and the lives of my children. And repeat that. Add in that in the past, Davis has made verbal threats to you. Then say you don't want to become a statistic. If that doesn't work, then your state and court system sucks. Reply. Not that I know of, but it's something I have asked myself given the big change in her behavior. Commenter 3. NTA. Jody is an irresponsible deadbeat mother, and Davis came in all smug trying to replace you as father of the kids you are raising alone. There is a reason your ex lost both any kind of custody and visitation rights. She is a danger to your kids OP. Your kids ain't missing anything not knowing they're half-siblings OP as long their security is at stake. Their mother being knocked by a loser with a weird obsession of trying to claim paternity over your children don't change a damn thing to the situation, as the main point is that Jody and Davis can't be trusted with your kids and proved it times after times. If Davis wanted for the kids to get to be in each other's life, he should have thought about that before trying to erase your from your own kid's life, and his wife should have worked on being less of a crappy mom. You need to protect your babies, and if this means for the kids to never meet their half-sibling till they are appropriate to reach out to them on their own without any irresponsible parents in the picture, your ex and her douche, then so be it. Davis and his emails can get lost. Reply. The worst part about that is Davis knew Jody left the kids with me when she left me. He knew she didn't even reach out to see how they were and was inconsistent. He married her anyway and decided he could be number one dad. Reply. Commenter 3. This comfort even more my previous answer. He knew Jody was deadbeat. He came in trying to act like a dad to the kids as if him fucking your ex gave him any right onto those children when they have a dad that is well alive and have been raising them basically alone since the kids were born. He knew his wife abandoned her kids, and despite that went to have more with her voluntarily, he willingly stayed with a deadbeat mom and an unstable person altogether. He'll be in for a surprise when Jody leaves his ass with the kids the same way she did with you. They both deserve each other, both despicable characters. Stories number 22. Wedding guest blatantly disregarding the no-kid policy at our wedding. My 29F fiancé 29M and I got engaged this past February and are getting married in June of 2026. As it stands right now, we have about 265 people on the guest list. The wedding is adults only and this is something we both feel very strongly about. We are inviting my fiancé's childhood au pair and her husband. They live in Finland and have an 8-year-old son. Right after we got engaged, the au pair asked my fiancé's mom if kids were invited. She told her that the reception is adults only. The au pair then started to argue with my future MIL about bringing her son to the wedding. She said she doesn't feel comfortable being away from him that long. My future MIL told her that the son can come to the ceremony, then have a babysitter that she knows watch him for the reception. Basically, the au pair wasn't taking no for an answer and the conversation ended with my future MIL telling her that she would talk to us about it. She asked us both together a couple times and we were pretty clear about not making any exceptions. The au pair continued to pester my future MIL about this for the next few weeks. My MIL called me and told me this and asked me what I want her to tell her. I basically told her I really don't want kids there and I don't want other family members with kids to be upset that their kids weren't invited, but if it keeps the peace I guess I can just bend the knee and try to not be annoyed about it. I regret giving in, but I do feel so bad that my future MIL has to deal with this. Like, that's not fair to her to be put in that situation and I don't want her stressed out. My future MIL and I are close and I don't think she would care if I stayed firm, but at the same time I don't want her resenting me or think I'm being difficult or unreasonable. Before my future MIL even got the chance to talk to the au pair again, the au pair called my future MIL and told her that she already bought the plane tickets for the whole family. My figure MIL for sure wishes we would suck it up BC. She sees it as being too late since the tickets are already bought and she doesn't want to deal with it reasonably, so now I'm just pissed and I don't want to invite them at all to the wedding because the audacity is crazy. We haven't even sent out save the dates yet. I feel like the au pair bought the plane tickets or is lying, who knows, because she wanted to pressure my future MIL into giving in and make her feel like her hands are tied. I told my future MIL to not worry about it anymore and my fiancé will handle it from here. I think the plan is to reach out to the au pair and either make up some excuse from the venue basically saying our hands are tied and we can't even have kids if we wanted to. I think that's risky and not even necessary because I could care less about hurting her feelings at this point. I just don't want the backlash to fall on my future MIL because she's already taken enough heat as is. Any advice is appreciated, or if someone has a really good fake excuse, I'm all ears. Edit to answer some questions I've seen a few times. We live in America. The babysitter my MIL suggested wouldn't be some random person. She knows several people closely who she trusts who work in childcare. My fiancé doesn't care if the au pair comes or not. If it were up to us she wouldn't even be invited, but my MIL added her to the list. She was also invited to my fiancé's siblings' wedding, so the precedent is there. She is helping pay for the wedding, so we don't mind her inviting who she wants to invite within reason. I see a lot of comments saying they don't understand the no kids policy. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but personally I think kids kill the vibe of a classy event. They're running around all over the dance floor and their parents can't even have fun because they have to keep an eye on them all night. Also, if we invited kids, that would add about 50 people to the guest list and we clearly aren't in a position to do that. To the people saying don't invite them, this would be the obvious move, but unfortunately it doesn't solve the problem. The au pair already knows when the date is. My MIL told her she was invited not knowing she would cause issues, and the au pair already bought plane tickets. If she never receives the invite, that will just start another fight. Stories number 23. I 30F broke up with my boyfriend 31M because he didn't want me to go to dinner when I traveled for work if I was traveling with male coworkers. We had been dating for just over a year when I told my now ex-boyfriend that I was going to be traveling for work soon and that I would be traveling with 2 male coworkers. He had never met them. I mentioned wanting to do something fun in the city if we had time in between meetings. I also mentioned I hoped we could find a cool restaurant to go eat at. I've never given him any reason not to trust me, but it made him really upset. He said it was disrespectful to our relationship that I wanted to hang out with another man in my free time. I tried to explain to him that I didn't just want to hang out with other men. They just happened to be who I had to travel with and we were only going to have one car. I said it was just a normal part of work travel to get dinner with who you're traveling with. And that one of the perks of traveling is that the company pays for you to go out to eat, and that's something I enjoy doing. I also tried to explain that it can be good for my career even if it's not necessarily a requirement. He refused to listen/believe any of that. He said it was absolutely not normal and our company should pay for 2 cars and that we shouldn't have to be attached at the hip for a week. He kept saying it was like going on a date and compared it to him going to dinner with another woman just any day of the week because he just wants to. And that I was choosing to go get dinner with other men on my free time. He thought I should just get Uber Eats or take an Uber to a restaurant. I tried explaining that it's more expensive to do those things, but he didn't care. That's the gist of it. We continued to fight over it for weeks. Just going in circles, repeating ourselves and not getting anywhere. I finally decided to break up with him. He immediately did a 180 and started saying he would be more understanding in the future and that we could make it through this, but it just felt too little too late to me. It's been a couple weeks since we broke up now and I'm feeling really confused. I really miss him and constantly question if breaking up was a mistake. But then I go and read all the messages that led up to my decision and I remember. It's just very confusing because I miss him a lot. Any advice on how to proceed? He was a really good boyfriend and is a good person before this argument. Stories number 24. My boss told me if I'm going to start FK off home, so I went home. I work for the NHS and walked out of my job today. Last night before leaving, my manager told me to come in at 6 a.m. and jump on the forklift until 8 a.m. then switch over then back on at 10:15 a.m. when another member of staff goes home. One of my supervisors likes to go against the above managers and told me to get off the truck. I explained that I had been instructed to work on the truck during these specific times. He said I don't care, I don't want two people on the trucks. Even though it was very busy, I got a little aggravated and asked him what his big problem was with me being on the truck because I'm sick of bouncing between two sets of instructions. He replied, don't start, if you're going to start F***K off home. I replied, you want me to F**** off home then do you? He replied, yeah, go on F off home then. I put my marker pen on the truck and walked out. Was I in the wrong? I was simply following instructions and as far as I'm concerned, that's a dismissal. Any advice would be appreciated as this is not something I enjoy doing. Stories number 25. Wife died a few days after childbirth. Let me know if this is the wrong sub. My wife did a surrogacy for another family and 2 to 3 days after the baby was born, she had a heart attack. I got her to the emergency room very quickly, where I was told she fell unconscious immediately after being taken into a separate room for care. She was to be transferred to another hospital, but died before getting on the transport after suffering a pulmonary embolism. I had a few concerns with the standard of care she received during labor. Is it possible that these could have been a factor in her passing? This was her third childbirth and I have been there for every one of them. She was a very healthy woman, 29 years old. They did not allow her to deliver the placenta. I saw them pull the placenta out themselves while talking about a shift change coming up. They did not give her a vaginal examination at any point before releasing her. Once the room had cleared after the initial birth, we were transferred to another room and a nurse came in to tell us the doctor discharged her. There were other minor things that I did not like about the visit, but the issues mentioned above felt the most egregious. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a single father of 2 picking up the pieces wanting to know if there's a reason it all went wrong. I have relevant names and medical history set aside in case it's needed. Stories number 26. My F24 fiance's M27 mom refuses to attend our wedding unless it meets her standards. Is this a battle worth fighting? I F24 am planning a wedding with my fiancé M27. We've been in a long-distance relationship for 2 years and are planning to get married next year. My parents are supportive, but his mom isn't. It's not because she dislikes me, but because she's afraid the wedding won't be grand enough and that she'll be embarrassed. She wants a big wedding and insists on inviting important people from our office, which isn't what my fiancé and I want, especially since we're still in junior positions. She told us to postpone the wedding until we're 30 and can afford something more extravagant. If we still can't do it by then, she wants us to get married abroad to avoid embarrassment on her part. My fiancé has explained our plans and expressed how much he wishes she could be more understanding. But this has been a recurring pattern in his family. His mother often acts as if the world revolves around her. She doesn't take no for an answer. Now she's saying she won't come, and neither will her side of the family, if we move forward with our current plan. My fiancé, my family, and I are all okay with moving forward. But deep down, we both want her there. We've done everything we could to involve her, but she insists it has to be done her way. I find that hard to accept, especially since we're the ones paying for the wedding. We even suggested therapy, but she refused. Now she says this whole situation is stressing her out and that she's losing sleep over it. For context, I live in Southeast Asia, where weddings are usually family-centered. But in our religion, the groom's parents are not required to be present. I don't want my fiancé to feel like he has to choose between me and his family. I've tried hard to earn his parents' approval, and they have no issue with me as a person. It's just the wedding that doesn't meet his mom's expectations. My fiancé is a wonderful man and wants to marry me, with or without his mom's blessing. But I keep wondering, is this a battle I should keep fighting, or is it something I need to let go of? TLDR, my fiancé's mom won't attend our wedding unless it meets her standards. She wants a large, prestigious event, which we can't afford and don't want. We're paying for everything ourselves. She has no issue with me, but refuses to support a smaller wedding. I don't want my fiancé to feel forced to choose between me and his family. We still want her there, but she refuses unless it's her way. Should I keep trying or let it go? Stories number 27. Aita for not giving my mom a key to my new house after everything she put me through growing up. I just bought my first home, a small fixer-upper I've been saving for since I was 21. It's not fancy, but it's mine. After years of roommates, couch surfing, and crappy apartments, having a space that's safe and quiet means everything to me. My mom found out about the house through my cousin, and the first thing she asked was, when does she get a copy of the house key? I laughed thinking she was joking. She wasn't. Here's some background. I grew up in a house that never felt like home. My mom was the kind of parent who acted more like a jealous older sister than a mom. She'd go through my room constantly, read my journals, made fun of me in front of guests, and treated my privacy like an inconvenience. If I cried, I was being dramatic. If I got good news, she found a way to downplay it or turn it into a competition. When I was 15, she grounded me for 2 months because I didn't want to show her my texts. I moved out at 18 and we've had a rocky relationship ever since. She's gotten better on the surface, less yelling, more polite, but I wouldn't call her trustworthy. She still asks invasive questions, still brings up old wounds like they're punchlines, and still pretends like none of it was a big deal. So, no, I don't want her to have a key to my home. When I told her that, she got icy and said I was holding a grudge over teenage drama. She also said I'd never know when I might need her to check on me, which honestly just confirmed exactly why I don't want her to have access. My aunt took her side and told me I was being disrespectful, that she's still my mother and it's just a spare key. But to me, it's more than that. It's about feeling safe. It's about boundaries I never had growing up and finally get to set now. I told my mom this house is my space, and I want to keep it that way. Now she's barely speaking to me, and I'm getting guilt-tripped from other family members who say I'm being cold and ungrateful. I don't think I'm wrong for drawing a line, but I also didn't expect this much backlash. Stories number 28. I let my dad help after getting out of the hospital, and now I'm scrubbing his shit out of my carpet and feeling guilty for being upset. I got discharged from the hospital last night after 4 days in the ER and being admitted for low cortisol. I was exhausted and scared. Being alone in the hospital for days is hard. My parents live 6 hours away, and my dad insisted on coming, to the point of saying he'd just show up if I didn't say yes. So I let him stay over to help out. I don't usually ask for help. I've had many experiences where people's help ends up making things harder, and I've told others that letting people in usually leaves me worse off. But I still let him come. This morning, after he left, I noticed something was off in the bathroom. There was feces on the carpet, all over the toilet, and I realized the smell I'd been noticing around my apartment was from that. I was confused and didn't want to embarrass him, so I asked gently over text if maybe he'd had an accident. He said yes, that he hadn't realized, it happened in the middle of the night, and he was kind of out of it. He apologized, and I do believe he's sorry. It wasn't malicious. But now I'm sick, still recovering, and I'm the one scrubbing someone else's shit out of my carpet. I feel overwhelmed, still very weak, and stuck between trying to take care of myself and trying to protect his feelings. I told him before he came that his help usually makes things more complicated. He's 75 and I'm 24, and no matter the situation, I always end up in the caregiver role. He can barely walk or carry things, but insists on coming to save me when I'm in crisis, even though it just creates more stress. I keep smelling it. I don't know if it's just me being paranoid, or if it's on the couch where he slept. I can't afford a cleaner. I feel rude even thinking about asking him to help with the cost since he drove 16 hours total to spend barely 12 hours here. He got in around 5 p.m. and left after breakfast the next morning, and now, I just feel like going to the hospital was pointless. I didn't get answers, I still feel sick, and now I have literal shit to clean. I'm so tired. I just wanted to feel cared for once, and instead, I feel worse than before. Update, I found his shit on the couch. The cushions can't be washed easily. He must have defecated during the night and not noticed. I'm disgusted and beside myself, and I want to sit down, but now I can't since my couch has shit on it. I just can't believe this is it. Stories number 29. Reported my boss last week to OSHA and got fired shortly after. Exactly 1 week ago today on the 28th of July, I made a phone call to OSHA regarding my boss. The claim I made was valid, per the OSHA investigator I had on the line, and my boss got a phone call from OSHA that same day. My boss was on vacation that day, and when he got back this weekend, he fired me yesterday on Sunday, making very vague claims about tasks I hadn't completed. I had in fact completed all of them because he gave me a very specific list. I even asked him for clarification about the tasks I hadn't completed, and he read the message and didn't respond. I just want to know what I should do now. Thank you. Edit. I just got off the phone with a regional whistleblower complaint investigator, and he determined that he isn't making the complaint due to the fact that I had made a few mistakes in my first 90 days of employment that my boss did quote me as some reasons as to why he did let me go. He did send me an updated text a few hours ago detailing specific reasons as to why he fired me. He was wrong about multiple ones but right about some, and the right about some is where the issue is. So going that route is null and void. Look, at the end of the day I just want my previous boss held accountable for 2 have been investigated and confirmed, or 3 the third is under investigation right now, individual OSHA violations which I already have individual case numbers for. I am going to take accountability for the mistakes I made and why he fired me. However, he still took advantage of me and other employees in the past. I want him held accountable for that. Stories number 30. Moonlight neighbor. She tried to get my landlord involved over intentional vibe sabotage. Hey again. You might remember me from my last post apparently was removed LOL, where my neighbor Celeste tried to reserve the moonlight in my backyard so her daughter could film a TikTok dance. If you thought it ended there, buckle up. So I thought things had cooled off. I hadn't seen much of them for about a week, and I figured they realized how ridiculous the whole thing was and moved on. But nope, apparently Celeste just shifted into passive-aggressive offense mode. A few nights ago, I'm doing my usual backyard routine, nothing crazy, just sitting with a drink, light music on my Bluetooth speaker, like super chill, not a party or anything. Around 9:30 p.m., I get a text from my landlord. He's like, "Hey, just wanted to check in, your neighbor Celeste reached out and said you've been disrupting her daughter's creative projects at night. She asked if I could remind you to be mindful of noise and backyard lights." Y'all. I live in a duplex-style rental, and we don't share a yard. We share a fence. And my lights are solar fairy lights that barely outshine the moon she was trying to claim. So I call my landlord and explain the full situation. To his credit, he just laughed and said, "Okay, yeah, that's not really a landlord issue." But he told me to just keep things respectful and document anything weird in case it escalates. So I go back outside. 5 minutes later, Celeste steps out into her yard and stands there, just stands, facing my yard with her phone out. Not filming, not talking. Just staring. Like a less fun version of the Blair Witch Project. Her daughter came out too, clearly trying to set up her phone for another attempt at the whole moonlight dance thing. But after like 3 minutes of side-eye and me doing absolutely nothing except existing, they both stormed back inside. I heard the daughter say, "There's no point, the mood's already ruined." So now I'm the official ruiner of vibes, apparently. No more direct confrontation since, but I feel like I'm living in a very weird, very suburban standoff over literal moonlight. Moral of the story: you never know when your backyard will become ground zero for someone else's TikTok dreams, or how far someone will go to make you feel like you're trespassing on your own chill time. I'll update again if she escalates to the HOA we don't have one or tries to charge me rent for moonlight access.